up, everybody, and welcome back to the Reality Kingdom, where we put the real in reality or whatever.
Period.
I'm your host, Pharaoh. We're joined by our wonderful co-host, Lee. Lee, how you doing, boo?
I feel like renewed for you.
Gonna be doing to you. Thinking about me every night. Espresso. I'm
Okay,
feeling good too.
I'm feeling good. My bitch Lexus has the
Ate it up, 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 ate it up,
Anthony
ate
will
it
be
up,
in
ate
final
it up.
three. I mean, the girls are saying she needs to cut Todd. The girls are all over the timeline saying she needs to cut Todd.
Girl, hold on before we get into that, because
Either
what
way
are
it goes, I
the
don't give a damn. My bitch got that veto. My bitch is in top 3. I love it so much because we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
we got to get to it because the girls, the fans have been saying a lot over there. The
a lot
fans
of
have been
revisionist
saying a lot.
history in and outside of the house,
Ooh.
which I find crazy because we don't have 24/7 live feeds anymore, but we have the bird's eye point of view. The season isn't even over with yet, and bitches is revisioning what's happening right in front of our faces, and I won't allow it.
Me neither. So people have been revisionist history, including people who were in the game themselves. So starting off, we have to start off where we left off, which was Anthony's plan to backdoor Spicy V.
Mm-hmm.
We saw in the Eviction episode, Spicy V and Anthony have a big argument. Spicy V was getting very upset at his reasoning.
It was crazy.
It was
crazy. She got up and threw that glass.
Glass broke.
Like, F you, Anthony.
She was giving TV. I'll give her that. She was definitely giving TV.
Spicy's definitely going to give you good TV.
She was definitely giving good TV. But basically, the argument was Spicy V was trying to ask him what his reasoning for taking her out was. He said that it's because you've been trying to undermine me basically all game. He mentioned how there was a bunch of things I heard. There was clear points in the game where you were prioritizing yourself or other people over me. And I just didn't feel like that was something that I could trust, that I could go to the end with. So that's why I'm taking you out. Spicy V ended up apologizing for those things in that conversation. And then when he was giving more reasoning, she wasn't having it, because she was saying that she was loyal to him to the end, which I do believe she was loyal to him to the end. So she's very upset. She gets up, she storms down, she leaves, and then they argue a little bit more. And Anthony was like, girl, you've been doing this all season. You've been playing in my face all season. You just apologized for it. And Spicy V was like, but I had your back, Anthony. I had a final 2 with you. And she went and told the other girls, I had a final 2 with him this whole time. And then when she left, they was like, so you had a final 2 with him, with me, with her. And it's like, that's really Anthony. And it's like, for the people outside who are like a little confused by it, that's Anthony's point right there. Everyone in that room said they knew she had a final 2 with all of them, and she had a final 2 with Anthony. That's the issue. You can't have a final 2 with everybody in the game and then expect one of them to think that that's their real final 2. Even if it is, it's very difficult. Kiefer, in our update with Kiefer, which we had, go check that out, he mentioned how in his season she did something similar to where Kiefer was allegedly her real final 2, is what she told him. And he said he just couldn't believe it because he knew she told everyone else that they were her final 2. So even if Spicy V's intention was to take Kiefer or Anthony to the end, how is that person supposed to know that when you're telling everybody that? When you're playing, when you're doing things in the game that benefit other people more than him. So it was just very difficult. And I feel like she just didn't understand that reasoning. It was very, very bitter, honestly. She did not seem like she was wanting to vote for Anthony. She said she would vote Bayleigh and Todd before she would vote.
That's crazy. Because I'll give you Bayleigh. I will give you Bayleigh. But Todd is absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's insane. And that's how I know she is bitter. So Spicy V is bitter. That's just that on that. And that,
but
I mean,
also
that's her decision.
Let's go into that a little bit, because a lot of people are saying that the reason why she is bitter is because, Anthony did not handle her in the right way. Because when he's saying why you're going home, he's saying the reasons are you've been disloyal to me, you've been against me in this entire game. But in Spicy's mind, this entire time, there has been a cognitive dissonance with Spicy. So she does not, her actions do not always align with her words. Throughout this entire season, we've seen her initiate several conversations with her allies about targeting Anthony. She admits to Arissa in these interviews that she was doing those things in the game purposely so she can make sure that she is in a better position, to make sure that she was safe. That's what you do in the game of Big Brother. It's perfect. She should be doing those things. But we also have to look at Anthony's POV in that. The Matthew week, which we'll touch on later in this video, was a really pivotal week for Anthony. And it showed that she was prioritizing herself and her allies over him in such a severe way that could lead to his eviction. So based off what we've seen, the digital dailies, like, it did not seem like she was truly loyal to Anthony at all. And I feel like, honestly, a lot of people who were reviewing the season and recapping the season see that. Like, her actions have not lined up with wanting to go to the end with Anthony. So I can definitely see how within this game, Anthony did not see her actions in a way that was loyal to him at all.
Literally. Actions such as when she wins the executive veto and Anthony's saying, as allies, we should agree to do this. And someone else who isn't Anthony, Bayleigh, telling her to use it on Todd, who Anthony thought Victoria wanted out of the game at that point. Victoria had been talking bad about Todd to Anthony. So he's thinking, oh, we're on the same page. We want her out. And at the end of the day, she uses the executive veto on Todd instead of using it on Tola, which was very confusing to him. That's something that's undermining him right in his face. He has no understanding of that other than, damn, I thought we were on an agreement. She didn't do it. Then with the Matt thing, the whole time she was in a Final Four and a Final Five and a Final Six and a Final Eight with Matt and Anthony. So Anthony is thinking in his mind, okay, we're on the same page. We're cool with Matt. And then she refuses to save him. And it's confusing to Anthony. Then when she takes out Tola at the double eviction, when this whole time she had been saying, I want Todd gone. I'm sick of Todd. He's pissed me off. I need him out of this game. And then at the double, she didn't nominate him. So from Anthony's point of view, which I feel like a lot of people are either like not thinking about, right, they're just not thinking about. From Anthony's point of view, all of these things do not sound like something your final two who genuinely wants to go to final two would do. So even though she didn't explicitly directly target him or she didn't nominate him or tell her allies to, she's doing all these things that are just not in his best favor, and it's right in his face. So it's like you have to think all the way about it.
And I would also like to point out, I think a lot of people would then combat that with, well, should she have just let him get to the end with all of his allies? Like, if you really break down the game, one, she should not. That's one. But two, if you really break down the game, those earlier weeks, his only real allies in the game were Matt, Tola, and Lexus. But Lexus was also part of the Hot Chocolates. Every time he talks to Tola and Matt, he would tell them to trust Spicy. They didn't have to have a ongoing relationship with Spicy because they already felt like Spicy was with them through Anthony. There were several conversations in digital dailies that Anthony was telling Tola and Matthew that you can trust Spicy. Matt said several times that he wants the Final Four to be him, Lexus, Anthony, and Spicy. So he was setting it up in a way to where if they were in the end game with Matt and Tola, they still would have prioritized Spicy. Whereas Anthony did not really have those same connections with the people on Spicy's side of things. Like, it wasn't until this end game that Anthony was really able to capitalize on the Bayleigh relationship. But, like, for example, the way Spicy was turning her allies against Anthony, it was to a point where, like, in that Final Five, if he didn't win HOH, he could have went home just because the numbers were not there for him. In Final Four, he could have went home if Lexus didn't win veto. And that's because they were protecting people that were not in these in-game plans with Anthony. Every time Anthony's allies were connected to him, they had an in-game plan with Spicy. She was set up so well in this game that she could have went with anybody and she would have been good. That's why even when Kayla and Avery went home, she was still able to get to the end. But I think her issue was choosing the Bayleigh and Todd side of things. It does undermine Anthony. It doesn't protect his game. And he's thinking, well, if we're a final two, we have to protect each other. And you can't say that Anthony never protected Spicy because he definitely made sure that Matt and Tola and Lexus, until he started, she took out Matt, was with Spicy.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying now. Like, they're saying Anthony did the same thing, but they're kind of disregarding the fact that Anthony didn't do that until he knew Spicy wasn't prioritizing him in the same way when she helped take out Matthew. When she took out Matthew, that's another thing. I feel like people are viewing Matt as someone who who doesn't matter to Anthony's game, which is totally wrong. Matthew was Anthony's number one ally before Lexus and before Tola. He just replaced them with them. At the end game, yes, now it's Lexus, but in that moment, Anthony's number one was Matthew, and then Spicy's number one was Avery. That's like week 5, Anthony helping take out Avery. And it's like, when you really put it into perspective, do you think Spicy V would sit here happily this whole time and go to the final 2 with Anthony if he took out Avery week 4? Be honest. Because you can't take out my closest ally, who everyone in the game knows is my closest ally, and then expect me to believe you're genuinely loyal to me, even though she is. Yes, Spicy V was genuinely loyal to him, but the way she acted was backwards. It didn't make sense for someone to actually be loyal to him and to do these things, which I believe is the reason she went home. You can't actually be loyal to someone, but not operate loyally to them, because it leads them to take you out of the game. This would have happened with anyone. Let's say Spicy's number one was Bayleigh. And then week 4, she took out Todd. And she told Bayleigh, there's just nothing I can do, even though I'm best friends with all of them. Bayleigh would not be loyal to Spicy. Period. And Spicy's number one was Kayla, and she took out Avery. Hey, Kayla would not be loyal to Spicy. Y'all are acting like Anthony's response is out of this world. If this would have happened to anyone, if Spicy would have took out her closest ally, other closest ally, no matter who it was in this game, everyone would have the same reaction. I cannot trust Spicy. Period.
And another note is that it's how she did it as well. We have to analyze Spicy's game. Her game for that entire pre-jury phase was very much, Anthony, we're final 2. I agree with you, Lexus, me, Matt, Tola. She was in agreement with him. And every time she would talk to him, she would say, Kayla and Avery are doing all of this. I don't know why they're acting like this. I don't know what they're doing. So in Anthony's mind, he's like, well, me and Spicy are final 2. She's down to go to the end with Matt. She's down to go to the end with Tola. She's cool with Lexus. We all have a good relationship. It's fine. We're the final 2. That all changed during the Matt week when she basically was like, oh, well, this is what we're doing. And I feel like it's best for my game because you're not necessarily listening to me. And I feel like this is what I need. And this is the game we're playing. So you need to just win. Completely cut him off. Did not allow for any conversation. Because at that time in the game, this is where Spicy, Kayla, and Avery were pretending like Anthony was just getting his way and they weren't allowing them to do anything. That simple thinking on its own was straight up paranoia. Because if you look at the previous weeks, they were fine with Dennis going. Spicy targeted Donna herself at the time. Anthony wanted Vivek out. And then then go back to week 1. Spicy's the one who ratted out Janine, which led her going home. So these were all actions that they were fully a part of. And then for some reason during the Matt week, they felt like, well, we weren't a part of any decision that's been made, so we have to make this move against them. And they did not give them any chance to defend themselves or anything. And then you have conversations where Bayleigh's in the room and Bayleigh's like, yeah, keeping Todd is better for us and this and this. And Matt has to go for these reasons. And Lex's and Anthony's POV, it's like, well, you guys are benefiting another alliance, another person in this game over the hot chocolate group. At the end of the day, why are we keeping someone in the game like Todd that does not have a connected to any of us over Matt, who is locked in with 2 of us? And so they really did not hear them out at all. They didn't take any of their thoughts into account. They made this move on their own and basically behind their back, and then expected them to want to continue working with them. It does not get that good. It really does not.
Mm-hmm. And that's honestly why Spicy's exit interviews have been bullshit. That's why Avery and Kayla are some bullshitters as well.
It's very hypocritical.
It's crazy. And what we also got on the episode was some jury segments, and there were talks with Avery and Kayla about how, oh, y'all wasn't working with the hot chocolate seriously, I see here.
And it's like, what?
And it's like, ooh. And I don't have a big problem with bitter jurors. I feel like if you feel like somebody did you wrong, you don't want to vote for them, that's your prerogative. I just don't like when you're literally lying. Like it upsets me when you are literally lying to yourself, to the audience, and it's a disservice. I don't think being bitter is a disservice to the winner necessarily. I think it's a disservice if you're being bitter over some bullshit. If you're being bitter over some bullshit, because Kayla, Avery, and Spicy V have all made indications that they feel like Lexus and Anthony weren't loyal to the hot chocolates, when that is just not the case. There was not a point that they weren't loyal to the hot chocolates. Even the week Kayla went home because Spicy V was not loyal to the hot chocolates and wanted to target
But
Lexus.
that's what's crazy. The audacity of Avery to Spicy to say that they are upset or feel any way towards Lexus and Anthony for not being loyal to hot chocolates when they took out Kayla. It makes no sense. And then Spicy just straight up lied in her exit interviews when she said that Lexus was never the target that week. We saw the information. The only reason why the target switched to Kayla was because you wanted Lexus out. Y'all were not loyal to the hot chocolates. Like, why are we saying this? And then on top of that, you're also not loyal to the women thing either. It's like they're using all of these things to justify why Anthony doesn't deserve to win and why they vote Bayleigh, but they're hypocritical in their actions because Lexus wouldn't win if she sit next to Anthony. They literally would vote Todd next to Lexus, but you care about a woman winner. You care about women being at the end of this game. Or, you know, they cared about the hot chocolates, but they didn't respect Lexus at all through this game, and they don't want to vote Anthony even next to Todd. Even next to Todd.
And they don't want to vote Lexus even next to Todd. It's like it was, and this was prior to them even thinking this. Like when I had my exit interview with Kayla, initially she was just fresh out of the house. So in that moment, she was already saying, I wanted to be loyal to the hot chocolates, but I don't think I'll vote Lexus. And it's like, so you don't want to be loyal to the hot chocolates, because if you don't want to vote Lexus over Todd or Bayleigh, then that's just bullshit. So it's like, I just feel like when she initially came out the house, she was first like, oh, I want to be loyal to all the hot chocolates. I'll vote Anthony here, and I'll vote Avery, and I'll vote Spicy. I don't know about Lexus. So it's like, you immediately, before you even realized that you feel like Anthony and Lexus weren't loyal to the hot chocolates, you were already saying you weren't going to vote Lexus. So that's why I know that's not the real reason, at least specifically for Kayla. I will say Avery and Spicy B immediately left the house feeling this lie. And so I guess at least for them, it makes more sense. But for Kayla, it makes zero sense because you weren't even thinking that until weeks later after you left the house. So it's like, I don't understand how that's your thought process. But anyways, that's what the jury was thinking about that situation. And I feel like Spicy V is definitely going to be vocal about this idea that they weren't loyal to the hot chocolates when they weren't loyal to the hot chocolates the whole game
at all,
which is just some bullshit. It's very hypocritical. Don't like it. Spicy V had a conversation with Anthony about how even Avery and Kayla need to go before Todd and Bayleigh. Like, girl, what do you mean? You were talking to your closest ally. Well, not even quotations. Your closest ally that you said was your closest ally that you were never going to turn on and you were taking to the end. You told him, we don't need Lexus, Avery, or Kayla in the end game. So you were not loyal to the hot chocolate. So why would you use this against this man to justify not voting for him?
We always see things
that's
like
ridiculous.
That, like even the week when she targeted Donna herself, she looked at the camera. She was like, "Canada, I swear it will be 2 women in this final. I promise." But then this entire time, you're saying
your intention was for Anthony.
I wanted to be in the final too. So she does it. We see it. And that's the thing. It's like people are trying to pretend like she wasn't doing these things. Why do you think we were all saying that she was a great player and we were praising her? It's because she needed to isolate Anthony in that way. But that's the thing. By doing that, you showed him that you didn't have his best interest at heart. Final twos don't do that. Final twos work together. And at the end of the day, she initiated a lot of the discourse anti-Anthony. She really did. We saw all of that paranoia that she was building up. And then she tried to come back and say, well, that's what they're thinking. So at the end of the day, it definitely caught up to her. And I did see a lot of people commenting on how they felt bad, like they hated that Anthony did this to her. But like at the end of the day, I feel like that does completely just ignores Anthony's point of view. I truly do not think that Anthony did this because he solely felt that she could beat him. If that was the case, I feel like he would have worked against her win equity long before now. And he was not doing that until she started undermining him and isolating him in the game. I feel like at the end of the day, based off his loyalty that we saw in BB Can 7, I truly feel like he would have sat next to Spicy V and lost humbly. Some people probably will disagree with that, but I truly feel like he would have been fine with it until she started doing what she was doing in the game. And I think a lot of people are saying, well, if he would have just told her that, you know, you're going to beat me, she would have been fine. I think that's what she's saying because she needs something to say postseason of why she doesn't want to vote him. I feel like even if he said that, she would have found another reason to still be mad at him. Because at the end of the day, she has no reason to be mad. She's acting as if what he's saying isn't true. It is true. Even if you were not targeting me directly, you still were setting up other people to target me. Like telling people, oh, you know, the person who takes like Anthony, they win this game. She was saying that weeks to several people in advance. The evidence is in the digital dailies. We've recapped this entire season. We know the information. So at the end of the day, I can definitely see how from Anthony's POV, he did not think that the girl was going to take him to the final two or be loyal to him or at least look out for him because she wasn't doing it all the way up into this recent double when she still chose Todd and Bayleigh over him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how anyone can look at this and see that what he's saying isn't true. She definitely did not seem as loyal to him as she's claiming, and I don't think she can be mad about it.
Yeah. So that's that on that. We'll see what happens by the end of this game. She said she didn't want to know. She didn't want to vote for Anthony or Lexus. So there's that, and that leads us into the final four. We see that Bayleigh won the final four HOH.
Yes.
She's what is she like? Not the first woman to win final four HOH, but no, last time, every time a woman has won the final four HOH, she's won the game. They said is the fact because Jillian did it, Paris did it, Sarah did it, and now damn, ain't that a E? And now Bayleigh did it, so the girls are getting hype. And then Bayleigh decides not to nominate Anthony, which is
some
a choice.
Some people was like dragging her for this. I mean, honestly, the only negative I have for it is that like you didn't take away his non-nomination record because he still goes up this week because Lexus wins veto, but it's a forced nomination. If you put him up straight up, it shows that I at least tried to get the nigga out. You know what I mean? But it really doesn't matter. I don't think it's like too bad of a thing because she still got the win equity.
It doesn't matter. I agree. It doesn't matter. I feel like the concept it still should be. I don't know. I feel like people are using some concept with Lexus's veto choice, which we'll get to. The concept of like do anything to try to take a shot at Anthony because that's what's best for your game. And I feel like Bayleigh, she had a chance to like at least just for the jury just nominate him, and she didn't do it. So it was a questionable decision. But like you said, it doesn't matter.
I think she was just going to keep him at bay in case he, did have a certain decision in the final three, because I think she is kind of like also talking up this final two thing with him. So I feel like it was kind of like, okay, I'm not going to put you up,
Yeah, I like it. And then we get to the veto competition, and we find out that Lexus wins the final four.
They said she couldn't do it. They said she couldn't do it. That bitch was veto.
And this is another thing. I have a question for Spicy V because Spicy V said the reason that she would prefer to vote Todd over Lexus in the final two is because she felt like Todd has one important, or she feels like Lexus hasn't won anything important, and she hasn't done anything. And I feel like, would you consider Final Four veto important? I don't know. Like, I just feel like this is literally the most important veto. She now has the sole choice to vote to evict. So I'm wondering, it's like, is this week, or let's say Lexus wins the final three HOH, are those important comps now? Will you now want to vote for her? And I'm questioning this because I feel like she was lying. And I don't feel like her reason for not voting Lexus was because she didn't win any important competitions. I feel like she just doesn't want to vote Lexus. And I feel like that's fine. I understand Lexus didn't play this masterful game, this great game, and et cetera, et cetera. But a part of me just feels like neither did Todd. And it's no shade. So when I'm asking you about Todd and Lexus, and you feel like the reason you want to vote Todd is because he's done so much more important things, is winning Final Four veto, and then if Lexus wins Final Three HOH, is that not more important than what Todd did? And for example, I don't know.
We'll see with the vote.
I don't know.
But a lot of people argue now, though, is if she does vote to save Anthony, that the jury will use that against her. A lot of people will say, well, that's dumb. You should have evicted Anthony, especially with Spicy going out saying the person who evicts Anthony, that's how you win. You get him out. So I guess you're trying to use it against her. However, and a lot of people outside of the game are doing it as well. I just feel like at the end of the day, from Lex's perspective, like the only person who hasn't heard back this entire game is Anthony. And this is the final four where it's duo versus duo. I think going to final three with a duo is risky because they are taking each other. There's no universe at all where Todd and Bayleigh do not take each other. She gets third. By keeping Anthony here, potentially, she can go to final two with either Bayleigh or Anthony and get to argue a case. I truly feel like if she were to sit up here and cut Anthony, these people wouldn't respect her. They'd be happy that Anthony is out, but I don't think she reaps the benefits. And I just want to be clear that when I'm saying, like, I think that she should just keep Anthony and go to final two, it's fine. I realize that there is a path for her to win. I realize that there's a path where if she cuts Anthony, she wins the final three, she cuts Bayleigh, she wins the game. Maybe. But I also realize that these girls do not like her. They have not liked her since day one. They've given her no credit for anything that she's done. So there's a chance that she could do all of that and still lose. And the likelihood of her being able to do that is low because, Todd and Bayleigh, they're great at competitions. So I would definitely take the for sure shot of being in final two over the chance of being in final two and maybe winning, because I just feel like the chance is low because they do have so many negative feelings against her. So I feel like I mean, it's not like a huge. I don't think it's a terrible thing that she's keeping Anthony here. I really don't, because at the end of the day, she can also make the shot at Final 3.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this decision is such a decision because they don't respect Lexus's game, and Lexus hasn't played this phenomenal game, honestly. So because her game isn't just speaking for itself, she does have to do something big in order to get that win. So I understand the concept of cutting him and then cutting Bayleigh, but it's very backwards to leave a final two in the final three. Why would you cut someone who's taking you to final two over someone who's not? It's really, sometimes you just have to look at what's in front of your face, and it's risky to do that, especially when the scenario that is being brought upon is that she cuts Anthony, and then in final three she has to win the final HOH and cut Bayleigh. But if she has to win the final HOH, I don't understand why she can't just cut Anthony at the final HOH. If Spicy is saying the person who cuts Anthony deserves to win the game, why wouldn't she deserve to win the game if she cuts him at final three? And I think the answer is that everyone knows they wouldn't give her the win, even if she does it. So I feel like the reason y'all are coming up with this, she needs to cut him here and then cut Bayleigh, because she has to do even extra to get the jury vote, because otherwise everyone would just be saying she can cut him at three. But everyone knows those people in the jury don't respect her regardless of what she does. Even if she cuts him at three, she's probably not going to win the game. Even though she cut the biggest bad of the season and she made the biggest move of the game, she would probably still lose if Bayleigh's there next to her. So it's like, I feel like I feel like some people are being a little dense about it and trying to pretend that there's really a good shot for her. But if she can cut Anthony here and win, she should be able to cut him at three and win. So I don't see the issue.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous. Why would you expect someone to take a duo to final?
Yeah, and I'm
it's
also
just really
also,
ridiculous.
like, I just look at her perspective. It's like, I know for a fact if I was in her shoes, I would have done the same exact thing. Like, at the end of the day, Lexus doesn't have much of a relationship with Bayleigh or Todd, and they haven't done much to try to inform with her either. Anthony has had her back this entire time. He's protected her in a lot of ways. So why would you not just, like, if you're saying, because that's the issue. The main issue is that Lexus has not played that bit of a game. Yeah. I think she's had great moments. I think that she has played a more respectable game than a Todd. But at the end of the day, you're right. Like, she does have to do, I feel like, something. And that's the issue. That's the issue she put herself into. Because there is slightly more she could have done. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people would go with the loyalty factor a little bit. And I think that's kind of where her mind is at. Like, this person has had my back. I do want to go to the end with him. Because when Matt left, she did say, like, she didn't really care about the money. She hates that they did this because they're backstabbing her and betraying her for no reason, because it's like she's all about the loyalty. Like, they could have approached me and told me, like, this is what they were wanting to do, and we could have talked it out. Like, so I feel like over everything, her loyalty is to Anthony. So I think she's gonna want to sit in with him.
Yeah, and in the end, I just feel like that this shouldn't be looked at as a mistake. I feel like her mistake was the rest of her game, literally, and it ain't even no shade. I really feel like I just don't want people to walk around like she just made a game-losing move. And this is not the move that lost her the game. She just didn't do enough throughout the rest of the game, and I feel like people are really harping on this, and it's just such a silly thing to harp on. I feel, because it's just really backwards for her to do.
Because a lot of y'all know y'all want it because y'all know it's just better for Bayleigh. Let's come on, Bayleigh, stay with me for real. I see y'all. Y'all not split. Y'all want them out because y'all know that's the last thing stopping Bayleigh from winning everything.
Clark,
and like I said, I definitely see that one path, but like that's such one specific path. Like, she has to cut Anthony, win a final situation, then cut Bayleigh, and still hope to be Todd. And they up there still trying to praise him. So it's like there's so many steps, and it's so risky. And it's like some people, they like to gamble. I don't like to gamble. I like to get a secure $20,000, no tax.
Period. So that's where we stand. Lexus is DeVito, Bayleigh's HOH. Both of them are guaranteed final three at this point. So we'll definitely be speaking about them as people who could potentially win the game. They're both in final three. They can both make final two. So there's that. Lexus is DeVito. It's way more likely for her to probably evict Todd over Anthony, but anything can happen. We don't really know. But we're looking at potentially Todd getting fourth, and then the final three being.
Good God!
I would think
she is though.
I would think Lexus would just evict Todd. There's nothing that's telling me she would evict Anthony. But I mean, hey, you never know.
I mean, they, like I said, they have not tried to make a relationship with her. Like Todd and Bayleigh definitely had many times where they could have tried to reach out and build something with Lexus, and they did not. So
yeah. That's true. So that's where we're leaving, and the final three is potentially going to be Anthony, Bayleigh, and Lexus, and that'll be an interesting one. But we can just get into the dive, bitch. We can get into the dive, because it's possible that Todd is going home. Most likely, we'll just talk about him first. Plus, his game, is there
Very minuscule. Very minuscule.
very
Not much,
minuscule.
some would say.
I don't know.
But I mean, I don't know because the girls on Twitter thinking he
deserves it. He's that girl, and
he's the next Dan Giesling
girl. Lee, Todd has won.
0 HOH 3 POV.
Why are we in Spanish?
I don't know.
And he's been nominated 4 times throughout this game, including this week. And we can just start off with his game from the beginning. So let's rewind back, everybody, to week 1 of this game. And let's just discuss what Todd was doing throughout the season. Now, honestly, when it comes to Todd, and it's not even no shade, basically his first couple of weeks were all just very similar. Between week 1 and 3, he was not really regarded as an important ally to anyone. Even the boys, even though there was a boys thing going on, he wasn't really embedded in that very much. And then none of the girls were really trying to do anything with him that much. The only thing he really had was the East Coast Alliance, which was not a real alliance. And then it got exposed week 2. And so basically throughout these entire 3 weeks, other than that alliance getting exposed, he wasn't even considered in that exposure. It was mainly Vivek and Bayleigh who was doing all the issues with that. And Donna, she went home. So those 3 weeks
that was definitely the biggest thing. Like he had a showmance with Donna. And I think what I noticed from Ty early on is that it seemed like, of course, the center of the game at this point was the Hot Chocolate very early on. And it was kind of just outliers from that. And Todd was like the most outlier. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like every time we would get him in the drops, he definitely seemed to be in the area of, I don't trust these veterans. It seemed like his only loyalty really was to Bayleigh and Donna.
Mm-hmm. So that's what happened. Donna went home, and then he was really just left with Bayleigh in the game. And we see that grow throughout the season after these couple of weeks. Week 4 was kind of like the beginning to a shift in his game, because this is when Elijah wins HOH and he nominates him. And this is when we start to see him make comments about not trusting Anthony. And this is when the girls were like, oh my God, Todd, he hit. Because he seemed to be aware of the fact that Anthony was someone you needed to target in this game. We also noticed that this was the week, this was the week that the girls started, pulling him in as a clear priority through Bayleigh, of course. This was very much of the first example of that, because this was the executive veto.
And he was going to go home this week, like literally. And that's why it was so dangerous that he stayed past this week, because Anthony told him straight up, you're going home. And he listed the reasons why.
Yeah.
So definitely it was setting up to be where, Bayleigh's losing her closest ally. The girls are losing this huge shield. And they felt like they had to bring him in to protect him. And then I will give him credit on that, being aware that Anthony is this kind of figure that you need to be looking out for. It seemed like a lot of people, they either got in trouble and caught up with it and got sent home, or they just were oblivious to it. So him being aware of that and being able to, voice that is really a lot of why he was getting brought in here.
I agree. And this was like the start of him and Bayleigh's game being so intertwined, because they were always close, but this is really what intertwined their games. Because what happened at the executive veto, when they all were sitting at the table and then they had to choose and Spicy V won it, Bayleigh went to work to make sure the veto was used on Todd. She needed Todd in the game. She made Spicy feel like she needed Todd in the game. Like, really, the reason the girls felt like they needed Todd is because Bayleigh made them feel like they needed Todd. She very much so like put that on them, and we'll get more into that on her.
Saved his game, literally saved his game, and she rode that man to the end. She used the fuck out of him, like.
So the veto was used on him, and he was safe. And from here on, he really was, for these next couple of weeks, this week and then the next week, he was really just loyal to the girls. So
and protected by them.
They were loyal to him. Like, they were loyal to each other, honestly. Like, they were really working in tandem.
literally, it's crazy. Like going into the next week of Avery's HOH, and when she's taking out Matthew, her literal best friend in the game, the reasoning that she cooked up in her delusional mind was that, well, Todd is like a close ally to me. Like I recall the conversation when she's talking to Lexus, literally pissing in Lexus' face and calling it rain, talking about something. Yeah, like Matt to you is like Todd to me. You know, like I'm building a relationship with him and he's going to protect me and I feel like he's going to be really good for my game. Just for that man to nominate her literally at Midnight Massacre. So it's like, it's crazy. Like they were protecting someone that did not have their best interest at heart at all. He only cared about himself and Bayleigh. Probably Bayleigh even more.
So yeah, towards the end of this week, like you said, towards the end of the Matthew week, he started speaking to Tola a lot. Him and Tola started linking up just a little bit, and they kind of were coming to the conclusion. And Anthony was speaking.
Which is another thing I really liked. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you good.
That's just another thing I really liked about his game, because once he started being protected by those girls, we started building on Tola and Goose. You know, there was a period of time we thought, girl, you know, he may be able to create something of his own with Bayleigh and them. So that was really like good on him to try and get those relationships, because now it was set up to where the girls are protecting him, and the people on the other side are not even looking at him.
Yep, exactly. So this led into Movie Night Massacre. Him and Tola already had an understanding, kind of, and Anthony, that they all kind of wanted to target the girls. They felt like there was too many girls. The girls were clearly all working together. We got to target them. And him and Tola specifically wanted to target Kayla. So at Movie Night Massacre, they took their shot, and Tola nommed Kayla, and Todd, knowing that a pawn needed to be up for Kayla to go home, put up Avery, the girl who
they ate them up so nasty.
They
and it's like the man, and Twitter was going up. I was so happy for this. Honestly, I was, because literally the karma got right back on you that quick.
Yep.
And what's crazy is, in retrospect, they didn't learn from this at all. They still did not target Todd or Tola. They targeted Kayla.
Yep. If anything,
Lexus first. That's the thing. Lexus first.
Yeah. If anything, they made the same mistake. The mistake was you took out Matthew, someone who genuinely would have been more loyal to you guys if you prioritize him, over Todd and Tola, and Todd and Tola played in your face. And then you wanted to do the same thing with Lexus, Matthew's literal counterpart, over Tola and Todd don't care about y'all. It's like they made the same mistake twice in a row. And it's like actually insane when we're talking about it. Yep. But
specifically Avery and Kayla, because Tola sends Avery home and Todd helps send Spicy home.
Yeah, specifically Avery and Spicy. Like they played themselves
in their own face.
They played in their own face. So I don't know. Good on Todd though for making them feel so comfortable, or for them feeling so comfortable with him, because that's why they keep doing it.
And I will say that is definitely good on Todd, because there is some quality, especially while talking it out. Like I give him his tens, because they didn't know that he was thinking these things. They didn't know he had the secret relationship with Tola or the secret relationship with Goose and things like that. It was at the Midnight Massacre that they realized, oh shit. But like we said, they still didn't care.
Yeah, they didn't. And the gag is Spicy did know prior to, and she still didn't care. She actually was afraid of Tola and Todd, and she was talking about how Tola and Todd need to be separated, and then still didn't do it because she wants to take out Lexus more than that. But hey, no shade. So after this, after Midnight Massacre, Avery wins HOH. She takes out Kayla instead of Todd. Todd was nominated, and Bayleigh won the veto, and she used it on Todd. So he got vetoed off the block by Bayleigh, which was really good. And then this was the week that they all voted out Kayla, which was really good for his game. Honestly, this was when the game really busted open, and it made Todd actually a potential contender. They're saying they vote him over Lexus, so he really has a shot in the game.
Right here, I knew he was going to be set up for this end game, and I also remember saying like Kayla was one of those comp beasts. So her going home and opened the door for other people to win competitions, and he ended up winning 3 vetoes in a row.
Yep, right. Literally after this week, this is what led to his veto streak. So Tola wins the next HOH, and he wins his first veto here. This week was important because Bayleigh was on the block, and at this moment, it was really a 3v3 situation, and then Avery was here as well, because Bayleigh, Todd, and Spicy were really locked in, and then Tola, Lexus, and Anthony were really locked in. And the decision that Bayleigh and Todd came together this week to do was, we know Spicy will be backdoored if the veto is used, and she will go home. So because Bayleigh won't go home next to Avery, we should just keep the noms the same to save Spicy V. And in hindsight, A1 plan.
Yeah.
Because literally it leads to Spicy winning the double. I will say, I don't know if it was A1 that
Well,
much
I will
because
say Bayleigh would have just won that double, which still could have been great too.
that too. That too. And also, I don't know how A1 it really, really is because Spicy naturally wanted to nom Todd. She had to be told not to. So it's not like and that's what I was saying during the week. I was saying it's actually I like the plan better for Bayleigh than Todd because Spicy's after Todd. Spicy doesn't really like Todd. She doesn't really prioritize him. And that's another reason why Spicy is upset at Anthony because Spicy genuinely would have evicted Todd if the vote probably even over Lexus. She probably genuinely would have evicted Todd because she was getting annoyed with him. She was getting tired of him and she had been planning to get him out in these upcoming weeks. It wasn't until Bayleigh convinced her not to target Todd that Todd didn't get nommed, and then he won the veto anyways.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people would argue
really
that it was not good that he didn't use a veto on Bayleigh, which definitely, like, I understand Bayleigh's POV. I think she had a lot more thought into that, but I know, like, from Todd, his big thing was that he didn't want to make people upset. Like, he was scared to use it. And it's like, you're scared to use it on your closest ally at, like, top 7, top 6? Like, that's crazy. 7. So it's just like, I feel like it just goes to show, like, we were seeing him learn throughout this game, but he still seemed so scared to just make waves or make big moves. And, like, he was in a position to where he could have did it. Who cares if Spicy goes in the block? Who cares if she goes home? You have a good relationship with Tola.
So if Todd would have used on Bayleigh, if Todd would have used on Bayleigh and Spicy was on the block and Spicy went home, Bayleigh would probably win the double is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I remember looking at the numbers and Bayleigh was second.
So in that scenario, the same thing probably could have happened, and it would have just been them with Avery. And Avery, honestly, Avery and Spicy might just switch eviction orders, and everything else might be exactly the same.
I don't know. Avery was better at competition, so Avery probably went for HOH.
She was better at competition. She could have won the HOH instead of Anthony. So that would have changed the game up entirely.
It just depends because Avery, I can see Avery being able to be easily convinced by Anthony more than Spicy was. So you never really know. But it just I feel like that's something that's like you could have said I used it, or something like that. Showing people that you're doing something.
Show some agency. Show some agency with your you won a veto. You won a veto and then didn't use on your closest ally. Why would I want to vote for you over even Lexus? I don't know why anyone would want to do that. But clearly people do. Like imagine winning the veto and not using it on your closest ally. Like it's not an impressive game. Like even though I understand Bayleigh's point of view, like you said, it wasn't an impressive move. No shade. So he wins the veto at the double as well, which was very important veto because if Lexus or Tola would have won it, or Anthony would have won it, then Todd would have went home at this double eviction. It was either Todd or Tola going home here, and it was dependent on the veto. This veto was very important.
This is really another week where Bayleigh was really fighting for him a lot, and like it was so annoying to watch. That's why I was so upset that Lexus even went home because Lexus, she took the initiative to go talk to Spicy about the nominations, and she was in that pantry, and that's why I love Bayleigh in this moment too because she was like, "Oh, they all in there? Let me get my ass up in there because what are y'all talking about?" And she said right in front of their face, "Well, if you put up Todd, Todd's going home. So don't put up Todd.
So don't put up Todd."
And what did she do? She did not put up Todd. So, Todd literally better give his stipend to Bayleigh after this.
No, literally.
100%. The way she is his guardian angel for real.
And like we're gonna get into it more on the Lexus one too, but it really does bother me people saying Tasha went over Lexus because, like you said here, this is just a ABC blank right in front of your fucking face example of why Lexus is just more active in the game than him because he was sitting on the couch with Tola while everyone else was talking to the HOH during the double, which you're supposed to do. The HOH just won the double, so you go talk to them. And Todd is sitting on the couch. So it's like, I don't know in what world do you see that he's a more active, more better player. He didn't use a veto on his ally. He didn't even try to fight for his life. It's just so much stuff that he clearly didn't. And it's not his fault. It's really because he's just not a fan. And he's not that type of player yet. He hasn't learned enough about the game. But it's just an example of why I just feel like, no shade, but if he makes final two, I just wouldn't want him to win over anybody. And that's on period. So after this, Anthony wins his HOH, and Todd is a part of the Spicy V backdoor plan. Todd is talking to Anthony about how she does need to go, and he agrees that he's going to be a pawn on the block in order to help this plan go into act. And he wins the veto, which is good because he is a big part of why Spicy went home. Because if Spicy won the veto, she would not have gone home. And if it would have, it could have been him because in this scenario, Spicy is claiming she wants Todd out even more than Lexus. And if she does vote Todd out and Anthony votes Todd out, he could have went home here as well. Yeah. So this was another important veto for him. These in-game vetoes are very important.
But the decision is very choppy. Now, Bayleigh, she was set up so well that she was probably going to be in the final three regardless. But Todd here, keeping Lexus is the person potentially sending him home with her final four veto win. And we know Lexus is better at competitions and these type of HOHs and competitions. Like, she's been second in a lot of these things, whereas Spicy hasn't won a veto in 2 seasons. So it's definitely more likely that Lexus could have won, and she did. And now he could go home with the hand of her. So maybe he should have tried to keep Spicy in this game. He could have probably won veto or something like that. You never really know. So I don't like the decision from him because, of course, you know, he was kind of just swayed into it because it was kind of what Anthony wanted, and Bayleigh also agreed with it. So he was just going to do what they wanted. So it's just like, you know, I think that's another thing that just goes to show he really doesn't have his own agency in this game. And I think that's why I feel like I wouldn't have wanted him to have won. And I also, like you said, I don't see why people are just saying that he completely deserved it over Lexus. I feel like they've kind of played similar games in the way of how inactive they are. But I just like Lexus, you know, she definitely was just way more intentional with a lot of the things she did. And I feel like a lot of the hate that she got was unearned, whereas a lot of the love Todd got and protection he got in the house was through other people.
Exactly. So here, this is when we leave to the final four, and that's where we're at right now. And he is on the block, might be going home. We'll just have to see, honestly. So that's Todd's game. I feel like overall, for me, Todd is not the best player ever. I think it's him making it as far as he did and being able to win these clutch competitions. I think that's cute. He won the 3 vetoes in a row, the little 3-peat. That's really cute too. But overall, I'm not fully impressed by his game. There were a lot of weeks where he was just a bystander or just a tool. That's what Todd is. Todd was a tool for other people's games in a lot of different ways. And I feel like he's comparable to like Tola in a way of like you being here. It's kind of just because other people need to use you, whether it's Bayleigh or Spicy or Taylor or Avery or even Anthony using you to take out Spicy. It's like he was very much so not his own player, I feel, in his own right. And I feel like that's my biggest issue with him. And contrary to like Lexus, I feel like she is her own entity. She's someone who Spicy wanted to target, Spicy wanted to backdoor. We have to break up the showmans because Lexus and Matt are too strong in their own individual right. I feel like there were so many like things about Lexus's game that made her an individual. And I feel like with Todd, no one took him out because no one felt that he was a necessary person to take out. While on the flip side, people are trying to take out Lexus. So it's like, I don't know, Spicy, why are you trying to backdoor Lexus if she's just such this bad player? Why does she have to go home? It's just like, it really doesn't make sense to me, the threat level that Lexus was put out throughout the season versus Todd, for people to think that Todd deserves it over her because he's never been a threat. Even after winning 3 vetoes, he's still not a threat. He's just going home because he's not that good of a player, and Lexus has a better relationship than Anthony. He's not even going home because he's a threat. So it's like, I don't know. So that's my thoughts on Todd. Thoughts?
I don't really have many. We hit everything. I'm happy that he's probably going home. I really hope that she does go ahead and take him out. I'm shocked that he got this far. And like I said, as we went through his game, I do want to give him his 10s socially because, you know, I think a lot of times we do get caught up in how someone got there. We get caught up into like how someone got there when really like a lot of times people are put in positions and they have to do certain things. And I like analyzing what they do in those positions. Well, so while I feel like his protection came from a lot of people making mistakes or just using him as a pawn, we did still see him make those connections while in that position with like a Tola or a Goose and things like that. And, you know, Tola even protected him during his HOH. So it's like things like that were good on him. So, you know, I think that maybe watching more, you know, he can come back, you know, as a fan with some knowledge. He'd definitely be better. But, you know, this season, it's a chop.
It's a chop. The next person we're going to talk about is the veto holder herself,
Lexus, sexy
Lexi.
Lexi.
Sexy
My
Lexi.
mama, my mama. She looks amazing. What I love about it is that I've been saying pre-jury, as soon as I saw her bio, that she is so Taylor Hill coded. And look at
Yeah.
her in the final
The
three, the
karma
most
is
hated
there.
girl all season. And for the bitches who want to say the girl is not most hated, I mean, this
Who
girl has
is?
gotten shitted on since the first digital daily, literally day one. I'm definitely not going to say the vitriol is anything as nasty as was with Taylor, but we also don't have the fees to be able to really confirm that. But I do
Mhm.
know we have footages on footages of them dragging Lexus's name to the mud. And I
Yeah.
also want to say to a lot of the people who are hating Anthony because he's so misogynistic and apparently he's made these misogynistic comments and done these misogynistic things. Y'all are also the same people that are dragging Lexus, saying she's a lapdog for men, calling her insecure, saying that
Ooh,
her
fuck her
game
too.
only revolves around Matt and all of these things. And it's like, that seems kind of misogynistic, doesn't it? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Or the same people who are like, oh, we want a woman winner so bad. Like, ew, you don't want a woman winner. You're misogynistic. We haven't had a woman winner in years, but y'all also don't want Lexus to win. It's like, pick a side. Pick a side. It's like all of this shit matters until it's Lexus.
Child. Lexus has won no HOHs, 2 power vetoes, 1 safety comp, and she's been nominated 3
With no
times
votes to evict. Clock that T. Bitch, catch it.
with no votes to evict, period. So, starting back at the beginning of the game with Lexus, like Lee said, coming in on the first digital daily, one of the first conversations we see is Spicy V letting Anthony know that she is not feeling Lexus. So Lexus was not felt from
Mind
the
you, it's been a
day.
day. It hasn't even been a day.
It hasn't even been on. From day one, Lexus was not felt. She won the first competition of this season. I would say maybe an important one. I don't know.
Definitely, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, you won the first competition of the season and you won the very final power veto. So I'm not certain what unimportant competition. Like I'm getting a little confused.
I
But hey,
mean,
we're here. We're
a
here.
person
And
who has been like Lexus has been in their mouths all season. So to say that she hasn't done anything, then why was she in your mouth all damn season?
that's what I'm saying. I don't understand that. I don't understand why she's this big threat to you, but she didn't do anything at the same time. Either you stupid or she actually did do something.
Because
So
y'all
what's
have
the
been
truth?
targeting her. Oh, Lexus, we don't know. How many times have they said Lexus is
We
going to
gotta
be
split.
belted in?
We gotta
She's
split
going
her
to
up.
be in the game. Da, 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 da. And look where she at in the end game.
It's up.
She's just been
Sorry.
carried. She's just been carried, but y'all haven't liked her this entire time. Y'all literally tried to get her out, but okay.
So she goes in the house. She's not really well liked, but the Girls Alliance did form. All the girls kind of had an agreement that they were just going to take this season, and a girl deserves to win, and they're definitely going to vote for a girl regardless. So Lexus is probably going to win this game because they're definitely voting a girl regardless. So Lexus has a great chance to win, especially against Anthony, because there's 4 girls in the jury, and all of them promised to vote a girl.
Oh,
So
but it
Lexus.
doesn't matter when it's Lexus.
Oh, you sure?
She might as well be a boy to them. Because
Well,
since week 1, they were saying Lexus is going to be the first girl to go if we get to 7. Mm-hmm. Week 1.
well. So they had a girls alliance though. She was a part of that. And week 1, we saw her very early on. She was the first person who actually approached Spicy V and Anthony as a duo, like as a couple, noticing that they're veterans, they're probably gonna play together. She was the first one to approach them and tell both of them she would love to work with them. And that's when Spicy V and Anthony's perspective of her switched. Spicy V was like, you know what? I get Lexus, I'm vibe with her, I fuck with her. So she was the one who encouraged like that part. And she was also one of the first people to encourage the idea of the hot chocolates in these first 2 weeks. She was kind of hinting at in those conversations, like, look, I'm fucking with y'all. I'm fucking with y'all. So she was one of the ones to kind of help form that alliance in a way by bringing up those conversations. Her and Kayla, honestly.
Very much securing her safety in that way. I mean, by the end of week 1, I mean, week 1, week 2, once the hot chocolate is formed and the girls' alliance is solidified, you know, people are saying she's not doing anything. Well, does she have to? Does she have to? I mean, she has the hot chocolate, she has the director, she has the girls' alliance. This girl is in 3 separate alliances with majority of the game. And that's not because they just included Lexus. Lexus was involved in a lot of these conversations. She made sure to stay connected with these people. I think that for me, and like I said, I can definitely be realistic. I know that she has not played this phenomenal game, but
Absolutely.
she just has really good qualities when it comes to like trying to protect herself and making sure that she's set up well. Because I think a negative for me was, when she got into the showmance with Matt, I do feel like her social game with the girls dropped tremendously because they already were not feeling her. And I do feel like, it's kind of on Lexus to not try and socialize with them just a little bit more to try and switch their minds in that way. But I do feel like Lexus still deserves the credit because even though she was aware of their feelings towards her, she still pretended as if she was with them because she knew that she could be protected by them. And that's really good instincts on her because she could have easily stopped the bullshit, straight up just was fully against them. But like I said, another comparison to Taylor Hale in a way, she was still friendly and choosing to try and work with these people that were trashing her name so she can stay safe.
So that's exactly what happened. Like after week 2, she's in a bunch of alliances. So I think she was feeling safe. Her social game was ass. She was really only talking to Matt for these next 2 weeks. Honestly, that's all she was doing was just socializing with Matt. And while she's socializing with Matt on week 3 and during week 4, both of those weeks, the girls are like really talking about literally get backdooring her that she might need to go. Spicy V, who says she's never targeted Lexus, she said on the digital dailies that Lexus might have to go before Matt.
Literally.
To separate it. But hey, maybe I'm tripping. She was hot chocolate strong, wasn't he?
And I think a lot of this was random vitriol that a lot of times Spicy would initiate. I remember several conversations where she would just be with Avery and Kayla and randomly bring up how Lexus is a problem. Lexus has already turned. Lexus is doing this, and Lexus, Anthony, and Matt have this their own side. They're working with Tola. They're doing this over there.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think a negative is that she wasn't talking to them more, but at the same time, she was loyal to the hot chocolate. She was loyal to the girl, and she didn't do anything up until this point to show that she wasn't.
Yeah, I think like with her game, it was very these 2 weeks were just a dead moment. Like the other side of the house, Bayleigh and Todd, they were gaining momentum these 2 weeks because of all of the energy that the girls were having and the power that they had in the game. It was helping Bayleigh and Todd, and then it was hurting Lexus and Matt really on the other side.
She was clocking that. And that's the thing. It's like, I think in Lexus's mind, she's like, I don't necessarily have to be in their face so much. Because I will say at the same time, too, those girls talked a lot. Kayla, Avery, Spicy, and Bayleigh, they were always talking game, always around each other, always strategizing. And to be honest, it wasn't necessary for Kayla, Avery, and Spicy because they were running the house. Yeah. They were overthinking a lot of things. And in Lexus's mind, she's like, well, I'm with Matt all the time, who's in the directors. And I'm with Goose, who's in the directors. You know what I mean? It's like, so in her mind, it's sides quotations, but they're not really sides. And I think that's where the big disconnect came from, which is what led to Spicy end up going home, is that they were treating the sides as if they were real. So they were actually bashing and bashing and undermining Lexus and Anthony, when in reality, if it's fake sides because you have hot chocolates, then nothing they're doing is actually an issue. It's like basically, and which they did in BB23, but they got over it. It's like when Big D and Oz are like pissed at Tiffany and them for working with Claire and protecting Claire but trying to target Sarah Beth. It's like of course you could be upset about that, but if this is the end goal, then it's not a concern for real. So it's like they would play in between. The hot chocolates is the end goal, so it doesn't matter. And well, they're actually over here making these separate alliances, so we have to target them. And it's like it will go back and forth all the time.
And that's the issue. I think at the end of the day, Lexus is black, and she was operating on the assumption that all 5 of us are black. So at the end of the day, none of this shit matters. We're all at the end of the game together, and I believe that's why she was not all up in their face all day, because baby, it's unspoken. And that was the whole thing with the cookout, was they didn't even care to speak. They didn't even care. Like when they got in the room together for the first time, they were happy, but it's like they didn't even care to do it for the first 77 days because it really it was not necessary. We're black. It's unspoken.
It was understood. Doesn't need to be said.
It was understood, and it was unspoken. So Lexus was really I feel like operating
a secret alliance. by the way.
Yeah, that too. Like I feel like she was operating in that world, and I don't think the other girls were happy with the way she was operating, and that's why she just took this back seat, which was terrible for her game, and she shouldn't have done it, and she should have kept up those relationships regardless of what she was operating on. But I think that's what she was doing in this moment, and it's like it's hard. It's hard to not understand her because bitch, I'm black, so it's like of course you like Lexus would have been good with me whether she talked to me or not.
Yeah,
And I feel like
her
that,
perspective,
and I feel like
100%.
that's why I understand why she didn't feel the need because bitch, we're black. Why do we need to talk all the time? You know, you're not taking me out, or you should never want to take me out, but they did, and that was the issue. So I think that was her mistake, thinking that the people who claimed they were 100% loyal to the hot chocolates actually were, because they were not actually 100% loyal to the hot chocolates. So these weeks led up to week 4. Week 4 is when Elijah's HOH, and he is nominating Todd and Tola, and the girls, Kayla, Avery, and Spicy, are encouraging him to probably put up Matt as a backdoor. They're trying to cause this split between Matt and Lexus and Elijah, and they want to have Matt be backdoor this week. Lexus wins the veto. And when she wins the veto, she's threatened basically that if you use it on Tola, which was like her side, which is what they claim we were operating on. That's the thing. They claim, and I really didn't even notice this, but they really were like, we're sides though. We're supposed to do this. But as soon as they're working for their side, y'all are threatening them in order to not work for their side. It's very, very hypocritical.
When it works with them, they're fine with it, but when it doesn't, it's a problem, and that's what's so annoying because
and this was a very good
using that to be bitter and mad at Anthony and Alexis in the end game, and it's not fair because y'all never cared about that alliance, and you know you didn't, and I'm not even mad about it because at the end of the day, like the plan to take out Matt, I get it, like he was going to be an issue at some point. Because why would you want to be in top 5 hot chocolate and then Matt's there in top 6? It's like he can win top 6 HOH. I get it. I get all the issues with that. But the issue is that the underhandedness behind it. They went behind Lexus and Anthony back to try to get this move to happen. Literally, we're going to try and play in Lexus' face, have her use the veto, and let her showmance go up. It's like with all this information comes out, and then based off the actions that come later, it's like, how are these people are expected to trust you when all you're doing is showing them that you're doing things behind their back?
And it just doesn't make sense. If hot chocolate was genuinely the end goal, and Lexus won the veto, why shouldn't she just be able to use on Tola? Let Elijah do what he does. Basically, let the pawns play this fake game. That's what they did in Big Brother 23. It's like it didn't matter who they were taking out as long as it wasn't them. So if Lexus was just allowed to use her veto on her ally, and Elijah, who naturally just wanted to put up, I think, Vivek, he didn't want to actually even put up Matthew. If he just naturally does what he wanted to do, then it was Bayleigh. He wanted to just naturally put up Bayleigh. If he just naturally does what he wanted to do, we vote out Todd. Then it's like, Todd would have just went here. And it's like, that's the natural way the game was going. And at the end of the day, we're all working towards on these sides. And I feel like if they would have allowed that to happen without strong arming, and then Avery wins the next HOH and takes out Matt, it makes it feel less jaded because it's kind of like, oh, okay, at least we're actually allowing it. They didn't even allow it. They didn't let Todd go home. They didn't let him Bayleigh get renommed. They threatened Lexus to not use the veto. After threatening her, they made Elijah feel like Matthew needed to go after him. And then Elijah snitched. And Elijah told Lexus and Matthew that they're trying to make us pin us against each other. And it's like, Lexus hearing that, it's like, what do you want her to do? And that's the thing, she heard that and she ran it right back to them. Yeah. And that's another thing. People are claiming they don't think Lexus would have been loyal, but I don't see where any of her actions showed that, because here she ran to tell them what Elijah said about them when Elijah was telling the truth. She didn't even think to believe him. It wasn't even a thought in her mind to believe him. She immediately went to the girls and immediately told them, because she was actually loyal to the hot chocolates. Nothing else anybody was saying made sense to her.
On top of that too, then you cut to the eviction, the executive veto. She eliminates Matthew from the competition of even getting it, and people would say like, "Oh, she was thinking strategically." Look, we've seen Lexus in this game. I don't think she was big brain in that. I think that she picked a girl because she's actually just loyal to the girls. Like think about what we've seen Lexus in this game. Do you think she's sitting there like, I gotta make sure I take out Matt because they're gonna be mad with me and this and this. Like, I don't think she was thinking like that. I think that she was showing her loyalty in that moment. I'm with the girls. That's what she said this entire time. And you would think they would give her some grace and be like, well, of course we're not just gonna take out your showman for no reason, even though he's protecting us. But they did not.
Yeah. When they could have taken out someone like Tola, who took out Avery. someone
or
like
taking out Todd, who helped take out Spicy.
And that's the thing. Who helped take out Spicy, and I get at that moment not taking out Todd or Bayleigh, but you just didn't. You could have taken out Elijah or Tola. You didn't have to take out the person who was closest to Lexus and Anthony. It was very
that y'all
very
had connections
weird.
with. Matt
That y'all had connections with.
Spicy in
He
her
had a whole alliance
before.
with me. He had a whole
Avery
alliance
was best
with
friends with her. Kayla was under the impression that Matt was targeting him. Those are things that were not getting cleared up, which is on Anthony and Matt. But at the end of the day, that was something that was made up from Spicy.
Mm-hmm.
So
but
it's
also,
like
Tola and Todd literally actually did target her the next week. At the end of that week, she got nominated by Tola and Todd. So
and a lot of that thing,
even if Matt was targeting you, so was Tola and Todd.
When we're unpacking the season, we have to clock the back and forth of the Spicy trio. Yeah. They were going back and forth on a lot of their loyalties and a lot of their decisions, and it caused basically this end game to happen. Like, y'all want to be mad at Lexus, you want to be mad at all these other situations. You need to be mad at Spicy, Kayla, and Avery, because they're the reason why
they had control. They had the control
and them are in this top 4
until they went home. So this was the week that Avery went to HOH and she backdoors Matt. And Lexus obviously does not feel good about this. She feels very bad. She didn't understand why it had to be Matthew at this moment when there's Elijah, Todd, Tola, Bayleigh, all still in the game, but took out Matthew.
She blocked immediately. She was like, she told them, like, I don't like this because it feels like you guys are protecting Bayleigh over me. You're prioritizing someone that is going to be loyal to her, that only she has control over. And that's when they were like, no, we all have control over Todd. We all like Todd. Sure. It was just crazy. And that's the thing, if you watch those conversations, the way they spoke to Lexus and Anthony that week, they were not hearing them out. Everything went on dead ears. They did not care. And if we're in an alliance, at least hear me out. So I don't understand how anyone could expect them to stay loyal to this group when look what they just did.
Yeah. And like, I know, I remember people being like, not understanding why people didn't want them to take out Matthew. It's just, they really could have just took out Elijah and then took out Matthew next.
There were other options. That's the problem. There were so many other options.
People are like, well, they're supposed to take out Bayleigh and Todd. And it's like, they didn't have to take out Bayleigh and Todd. You just don't have to take out Matthew. It doesn't make sense. But hey.
Other option that would have kept them all safe, because the main thing that we kept saying was, y'all are keeping people in the game that are going to target the hot chocolates. That's the problem. That's exactly what they ended up doing in the Midnight Massacre. So I don't know why anyone's confused by this, because I remember Matt even said that one of them told him, I think Spicy was that, or Avery, one of them told him directly that some people are saying, I think it was Spicy, and she was like, some people are saying that, you know, we need to get you out so we can reel in Lexus and Anthony. And he told them that. So they were very much aware of the intention of why they were doing it. And it was very backhanded. I don't know why anyone would want to work with people who's doing these things intentionally to undermine you and isolate you in the game, especially when they still are not going to see you as a real ally. Like, they did this to reel Lexus in. She still tried to stay social with them, and they still didn't care about her, and they still wanted to get her out, and they still wanted to pawn her. So it's like you weren't even actually doing it for those reasons.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just feel like now that we have hindsight, all the people who are agreeing with the Matthew move, I just don't see it, because, like you said, Lee, that night at Midnight Massacre, Todd and Tola nominated Avery and Kayla. So, and Matt in his extra interview said he would never have nominated Avery. Matt is a very simple man, and I feel like that was very easily read.
It gets confused because a lot of people are saying, well, Matt was targeting Kayla. No. Matt was not targeting Kayla. Spicy told Kayla that. And Kayla got all caught up, and she got all in her head about it, and she was overthinking some small interaction she had with what people usually do. They get confirmation bias for things they're already thinking, and they go with it. And they just ran with it. And it got all confused because, well, it's Spicy V. And that's the game she's played this entire time. So that's the thing. Truly, I don't understand how y'all don't think that wasn't going to catch up to her. I always knew it was, which is why I'm not shocked that she went home and found a 4. The reaction of everyone on Twitter gave, what? This is crazy. How is this happening? Have we not paid attention to the game that she's played? People who play like this do not win Big Brother. Even the greatest chaotic players ever, like Cassandra's, Victoria's, Vanessa, Amanda, they don't win.
So Midnight Madness happens, and Avery and Kayla get nominated by Todd and Tola. And Lexus, when she goes in, she says that she wants Tola to play the veto so that the nominations can stay the same since they was playing it.
And I hate this because people are like, She never got over the showman's thing. Just like I said, very weird coded language, like
It was just the week
that
before.
a misogynist, I would assume, would say. But it's like I don't understand how you feel like them taking out one of her showmans, a close ally in the game. She was not supposed to be offended by. Like clearly, she's not loyal to that alliance anymore. It's like I wouldn't be. Who would be? They don't care about her.
They don't care about her. And they know they don't care about her. We know they
And
don't
she
care about her.
knows.
And she knows they don't care about her. And it's clear they don't care about her. And I'm not saying that they should have just went out of their way to care about her. But if they didn't, there should be no expectation for Lexus to work with them after that. It was very clear they did not prioritize her.
And the
They
thing is,
cared
she
more
still
about
did.
Bayleigh's number one. That's the thing. Because they could have took out Bayleigh's number one, Todd, and they didn't the entire game. And they took out Lexus's number one the first chance they won an HOH. That was Avery's first HOH.
Yeah.
As soon as they got a chance, they took out Lexus's closest ally in the game over Bayleigh's closest ally, over Elijah's closest ally, over Todd's closest ally, over Vivek's, over all these other people random not in the alliance closest ally. They took out Lexus's closest ally.
That's very specific, and they know the reason why. They let it slip. The reason why was to reel them in to purposely do that. So, of course, why would she work with them moving forward? They're fake, and they've been trashing her this entire time. So I don't understand, like you said, why anyone expects Lexus to be loyal to them or would want to go against them because of the Matt thing. And I hate that it's like, oh, she's only doing it for Matt. She's still trying to get revenge for Matt. No, she's going against people that played in her face.
Literally.
Like, they're not taking her to the end. They didn't want her in the end game. They did nominate her when they had power. So it's like, what, y'all want her to go to the end with them and lose? That's what they wanted, though. That's what they wanted.
It is. So after Midnight Massacre, we lead to Avery's HOH, where they were going to nom Todd and Tola. And initially, because Todd and Tola literally nominated Avery and Kayla last week, the initial plan was to just separate Todd and Tola, take one of them out. But very quickly, Spicy V changed that with one conversation because Bayleigh went to work and used some information that Todd got about Lexus to...
Yeah, Bayleigh did do that.
Did she?
You gotta give her a 10. You gotta give her a 10.
Didn't she eat though? Like Bayleigh eats it up. I'm sorry.
And always through Spicy too. She knew just how to get that girl riled up.
Yep. Bailey's that girl. So Bayleigh went to Spicy V, told her that Lexus said that she could have voted out Avery some bullshit.
And bullshit. Oh my god.
Some bullshit. And Spicy V ears perk up and she runs to Avery and tells Avery that we have to backdoor Lexus. Now, Spicy V claims that I guess she must have forgot. But she claims that Lexus was never ever the target for her in the entire season, which is a blatant lie. And she's using that as another excuse to not want to vote Anthony and Lexus because she's claiming that because she never targeted Lexus, they were the first ones to turn on the hot chocolate. Blah, 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 blah. So, anyways, Lexus. So in this moment, Bayleigh lies, tells Spicy that, and Spicy wants Lexus to be the target. So she tells Avery that she needs to backdoor Lexus, and then she brings up the idea to Anthony. And this is when Anthony, in retaliation for Lexus going up on the block, has to come up with something else. So he gives Spicy the information about Kayla hiding what Elijah told her while he went home, and that she was starting to target Spicy V, and this is what made Spicy V change the target from one hot chocolate to another, the alliance she's closest to, by the way. She was going to the end with the legend.
Yeah.
So she changes the target from Lexus to Kayla.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what happened. So Kayla went home on Avery's HOH. Kayla is the first hot chocolate to go home on Avery's HOH, aka Spicy V's closest ally, but somehow Anthony and Lexus. How does that work?
Kayla, baby, you gotta be smarter than that. And that's why I was always so hesitant on giving her such a high score. Because I'm just like, Kayla, she be there, but it don't be fully connected. It really don't. Because it's like, girl, how are you sitting here in jury buddy with Avery and Spicy? There's a reason why you're out. And I hope that they go home and really get the real information because
girl.
Like, people don't realize that basically everything that happened this season was because of Spicy. A lot of the random shit that we're like, where did this come from? How did this happen? Spicy. Mm-hmm. Spicy.
Literally. So Kayla goes home this week, and this leads to the double eviction week. Tola wins the first part. Really good for Lexus. She's safe throughout that part of the week. Avery goes home. Then at the double is when Spicy V wins the double HOH. And Spicy V initially was going to nom Tola and Todd, but she was convinced to just put up Lexus instead as a pawn.
Yeah.
So she just puts Lexus straight up on the block next to Tola.
And she was telling Lexus the entire week she was not going to nominate her. You know, she was down with the end game with her. So,
So Lexus ends up nominated, but she stays unanimously, and then Anthony wins the final 5 HOH. Lexus decides to volunteer to go on the block because she's a part of the spicy backdoor plan. Thankfully, it works out.
I was so scared. I was so scared. And then, like I said, and this is why I'm definitely not. I definitely understand why some people have their qualms about her, like a decision like this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to sit up here and just simply say that she is Anthony's lapdog. As you can see, she was basically forced into this position once they took out Matt. Like, did you expect her to just go with these girls into the end game? I mean, think about it. Bayleigh did the exact same thing. They took out Donna. She kept the eye out for Selena this entire time. Mm-hmm. And when it was time, she went ahead and did the flip because she knew she was not being prioritized with them at the end of the day. That's why Bayleigh is choosing Todd at the end of the day. That's why Lexus is choosing Anthony at the end of the day. Because these girls have been targeting each other this entire fucking time. So don't sit up here and tell me that a woman is not winning because Anthony's a misogynist. A woman is not winning potentially because these women have all been targeting each other. You're leaving Bayleigh to run the Todd. You're leaving Lexus to run the Anthony while they are all just spiraling, and it took them all out. Because look who's not in Final Four. Kayla, Spicy, and Avery, because they were so paranoid, they kept overthinking, they kept making decisions that were not good for their game that led to here. So, I'm not going to sit here and say that she is just some lapdog for these men. She definitely played the game that she had to play. And I think that if she were to somehow win, it would be very deserving. It's that underdog story. And I think that she would deserve it.
Yep. Child. So that leads us to the Final Four, where Lexus wins the Final Four. Veto eats it up, and now she's guaranteed a spot in Final 3. I don't know that her chances are going to be great to win, but that is her game. Overall, I do feel like there were pros and there was cons. I don't like the social game in the middle where she was just laid up with Matthew all week. That wasn't that good. And I don't like the moves with volunteering to be on the block. And honestly, that's mostly, I feel like her main issue was not being active. And I feel like in this game, you need to be active. The time she was active was when she's a part of a plan, because with the Spicy V plan, she was talking to Spicy V, and Spicy V was talking shit about Todd and Bayleigh, and she used that in order to secure, because a part of the reason that Lexus stayed over Spicy is because Lexus was laid up with Todd and Bayleigh all week. Like, after they became a part of this plan, Lexus did talk to Todd and Bayleigh the whole week, and she relayed to them the important information. Also, with the Kayla backdoor, Lexus was a very vital part of that too, because she also went to Avery and let Avery know the things that Kayla had been saying to her and Anthony behind their back. She went to Spicy and let her know. So she was a very big part of both of those things. So when she's included in a plan, she's good at being active with that plan. It's just she doesn't come up with plans on her own, and she's not usually active on her own. I feel like on the flip side, it's probably just because she felt safe with these people at the beginning, because that was at the beginning of the game. During the end of the game, she was more active. She talked to Spicy during the double. She went straight to her to make sure she was safe. She was a part of the Kayla plan, and she was part of the Spicy V Eviction plan. And she got good with Todd and Bayleigh. So she was active after kind of the Matt week. But before that, she was very, very stagnant, and it was never active enough throughout the entire season. And that was the issue with her game. But that's my thought.
And I feel like she also just has the other issue of just being a bad bitch, And bad bitches coming to the Big Brother house, the girls hate them. And I'm being so serious. Like, I knew preseason that how they view her is how they're going to view her. This is how I knew about Taylor Hale. So I'm not shocked that it ended up being like this. But at the end of the day, that is something that she has to overcome. And I thought we were able to see Taylor do so because, in the middle of the game, she was earning that respect from her peers, whereas Lexus never really had that opportunity. And that's the big thing. Like, she wasn't that active, and then she didn't have the opportunity to really prove that she was a type of game player. So we end up with her in the Final Four. I'm happy that she won this veto. I really am. I don't think that she is going to cut Anthony. If she does, she better win. That's all I gotta say. She definitely better win the fuck out, because that would be crazy. But I don't think she's gonna do that. Mm-hmm.
I feel like what I like a lot though is the fact that she was in alliances, and that's kind of like one of my main things with her and Todd. No shade, is that Todd wasn't in any alliance the entire season.
Yeah.
And like when it comes to like that whole decision between the two of them being a better player, Lexus was being inactive in a world where she was in multiple alliances, and Todd was being inactive in a world where he had no alliances.
And
And
then
it's
just to
like
be clear, alliances that she was definitely active in creating. You know, I think
yeah.
she was setting herself up well in the game to be able to kind of coast or float in a way. And it kind of went awry because, you know, these people were not actually loyal to those alliances, which
Mm-hmm.
was the main issue.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't, I feel like a lot of people like also just feel like, oh, well, she was just in the hot chocolates that was going to form anyways and da 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 da. But she was also in a final four with Matt, Anthony, and Spicy V. So she had multiple forms of alliances. It wasn't just the hot chocolates and just the directors. She had final fours. So it's like it goes even deeper than just those. And I feel like a certain level, you have to be a certain level of a player to even get in alliances like Final Fours like that early on. That was an early on Final Four created. And it's like Todd wasn't in any in-game alliances until literally the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I feel like just the differences to compare and contrast their games. Neither of them are that girl, and it's no shade. But I just feel like let's set a little one up. But we can go ahead and get into
Bayleigh.
Miss Mother Bayleigh, who has we've mentioned her name a few times
Look, you gotta
already.
give her her 10. You gotta give Bayleigh her 10. Bayleigh that bob. Bayleigh, no, for the bob.
Girl, honestly, Bayleigh's game is tea for real, y'all. Like it's no shade. And I don't know, and that's the thing. We've always been praising Bayleigh's game when due. I don't know why some people I feel like feel like we might have not given her 10s, her flowers, but
because a
she
lot
is
of
10s
Bayleigh
flowers.
stands, what I've noticed is that if you're complimenting Anthony, assume that you automatically dislike Bayleigh. Like I want Anthony to win, but it's not because I think Bayleigh doesn't deserve to win. I think that Bayleigh has played a good game, and she would be a deserving winner. You know, I would think Bayleigh definitely deserves to even over Lexus. Do I think Anthony deserves the most? Yes. Bayleigh definitely deserves it. If she's sitting in final two, she deserves to win it. And I think a big thing too is like in comparison to Todd, we were talking about like you said, Todd got used a lot. He was really a pawn in this game, and I think Bayleigh she started off as that. But you know what they say in chess, girl?
Yeah.
When you get to the board, you start to play. And she definitely the way she played. She made sure that she got prioritized in that way and turned herself into a queen herself. You know, so you have to give her 10s. You really do.
Yeah, you really do. So with Bayleigh, she started off the beginning of the game like the other girls in the Girls Alliance. She was not a part of other stuff going on, and I think that that's what kind of left her in this area of being an outsider.
And to be fair, it's because she's not black.
literally.
I mean, she couldn't do nothing about that.
Literally. and on top of that, also her personality was getting in the way at the beginning. She was doing a lot of bickering. She was vocalizing that she wanted to target Anthony week one. She was arguing with Anthony week one. She was getting caught up making side deals with Vivek, which like I had a positive about that and a negative because it's like it was great that she was making side deals. It was great that she was trying to form something not with the veterans in it very early on, and the East Coast Alliance was starting to form, but it got blew up week 2 when Vivek snitched on it. So all of that really left her in a. And then week 2, Donna went home. So by the end of week 2. It was a very bad situation. Janine and Donna went home, so the Girls Alliance was gone. East Coast was blown up. She was pissing everybody off. Girl.
If you had told me then, when Donna went home, that Bayleigh would be in final 3, I would have laughed in your face. Bayleigh wasn't even making jury at this point. Her game was so blown up, and that's the big thing. She has this very abrasive personality. She's very opinionated, and she's vocal about her opinions. And a lot of times, especially when we see women like that in these games, they get targeted early, quick, fast, put up with that quick, fast. So I thought it was going to be over for her, but she was able to, like I said, that became her superpower in this game. I think her, after the Donna week and the game started shifting around, her ability to still kind of work with these girls despite them playing in her face and show that she was loyal to them, it made them feel like, well, we need to protect her in this game because she's someone on our side. You know, she could have easily like dissed them and be like, I'm not loyal to you guys, fuck it, you guys play with me, but she didn't do that. And what I liked about her is that she started playing in a way that's like she was protected by the Hot Chocolate Alliance as if she was in it. You know, the way she started getting prioritized, the conversations that she was a part of, she was a major player in this game without being inside of the Alliance. And I feel like it's because she made sure she had these conversations. You know, like we would see her argue with Anthony, but it was still like she's talking to Anthony. She's talking game with Anthony. She's working out the alliances. They're talking about going to the end with each other. So these are a lot of things that really started to work for Bayleigh, and like it led her here.
Yeah, I agree. And we saw that at the start, really, with this, of course, her conversations with Anthony, and then also the Donna situation. When Donna was backdoored, Bayleigh had a conversation with the rest of the girls, and she really kind of just requested / demanded that she be included. In whatever they're talking about. Whatever it is, just include me. Let me know what tea is. And from that point on, they did include. Am I gone?
Oh, yeah, it did break. Okay.
Okay, boom. They made sure that she was included after that point. And it's like she really put in that work for that, which is tea. And that's what led into these next couple of weeks with Bayleigh, because week 3, when she gets nominated by Vivek, she was a target she was Vivek's target, and she was nominated by him after blowing up at him in week 2 about the East Coast Alliance and arguing. That was her negative. And then her positive came and showed because Kayla used the veto on her, because Bayleigh really made it hard for you to not prioritize her. That's why every time she says something to Spicy wants to do it. That's why every time it's a time to save her, people want to do it, because she makes it a hard time to target her. You're not going to target me. You're not going to leave me out. You're not going to exclude me. And that was that is her superpower for real.
And I don't want to skip ahead, but it's like we do see that during the Anthony HOH in week 5. It's like you're not just going to put me up. And, you know, and I think some of that fear in it is what caused them to have to prioritize her, because it's like we know if we don't use this veto on her,
she's going to be mad. Yeah, she's going to be upset. And it's like having that be known that that's going to be your reaction is good. It's all, we see it in a very little way with pawns. If someone asks you to be a pawn and you say, no, I wouldn't like that, it kind of scares people. We saw it in BB25 with Bowie Jane. Jag wanted to pawn her. She said, I would not like that.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it because he knew it would piss somebody off. People don't want to piss people off in Big Brother. So if you're the type to make it known that you're going to get pissed off at shit, then people are not going to want to piss you off. And it's like, she is the epitome of that. And she used it as an overall strategy in her game. And it's really, really impressive how it works.
She really manifested this stuff for her, because like I said, I keep mentioning it, but it's like, it's so crazy how she talked about and preseason wanting to have a hand in every eviction. And she was successful in that. Like, I do think that she had an opinion or a say-so in almost everyone who's went home, because she made that to be so.
Exactly. So this week, when Kayla uses the veto on her, it is the beginning of her success story for real. She gets locked in with the girls, and she brings Todd along with her, honestly. And she creates this environment with Kayla, Spicy, and Avery, who are running the game, of them feeling like her and Todd are what they need. They need to protect her and Todd in this game. And that's what they spend the next 3 weeks doing.
And that's the thing. Bayleigh, this entire time, she knew Todd didn't give a fuck about them like that. Todd, and that's the thing. I think I would love to pick her mind, because I'm curious as to, was it the Donna week that fully made her realize, okay, let me start prioritizing myself a little bit more, because the protection of Todd was solely for her game, and that was so clutch for her.
Yeah, it really was. And we see her continue this in the next week, week 4, when we get to the executive veto. When we get to the executive veto, Todd and Tola are nominated. And it seemed like this whole week, Todd was probably going to go home, even though she was going to bat to make sure the girls didn't want it to happen. And this week was one of the biggest argumentative weeks between the girls and Anthony. And this week, Bayleigh helped encourage the girls to put their foot down to make sure Anthony doesn't just get his way in this situation. And they were fucking up their relationship with Anthony to put their foot down and really just to help Bayleigh at the end of the day. And it's no shade. So Todd was probably going to end up going home, but it was a hard fight because Spicy was damn near almost saying, well, no, like we need to actually evict Tola instead. And then when we got to the executive veto, Spicy wins it, and she's deciding that she might not use it. She might just use it on Tola. And Bayleigh goes in there and says, you have to use it on Todd. And she's like, well, no, I mean, I could just use it on Todd. She's like, no, if you don't use it on Todd, then they might just evict Todd. If you use it on Tola, he might put up anybody, and then they'll just evict Todd. So we have to use it on Todd, period.
And that's why I was going to say one of the good things about her gameplay is that she's so stern in her opinion. And when you're stern like that, a person can't play in your face. Like what Spicy tries to do, and Anthony does a little bit too. Oh, well, I don't know. Or, well, let me tell you. So if you have this scenario, very like trying to run you around the question. And Bayleigh is very much like, no, let's get straight to the point. You need to do this because this, and this. So a person can't sway or try to convince them because it's like, okay, I know what you want. So I either have to give it to you or do something else. And I think that's what's always Bayleigh's position. And I think that's like Spicy was kind of in the middle between Bayleigh and Anthony a little bit. If you kind of look at the retrospective, it's like Anthony saying do one thing, Bayleigh saying doing another. And it's like she would always concede to what Bayleigh wanted because she felt like she had to keep Bayleigh on her side.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Yeah. She forced people to prioritize her. Even Anthony, like people really prioritize her. It's really, really amazing. And that's like, I guess that's a form of social game. It just doesn't seem that way because the way she does it is really in a aggressive kind of manner. But
we don't see this archetype succeed. And that's why I think it's so interesting about Bayleigh, because I feel like this archetype is usually pretty smart. It's just that people see them as this abrasive personality. They don't like, people don't like women in control. But this is, I think, the benefit for Bayleigh is that this is a women-forward season. Very strong women were in this season, and that helped her out a lot because she's able to flourish. She I think Kayla a little bit. I feel like I could compare it to Kayla. Maybe can't stick to the way.
Okay, yeah.
But I was like a slightly more savvy. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So this leads into week 5 as well, where the girls once again prioritize her and Todd. They take this big shot at Anthony and Lexus to kind of damage the entire side, which really busted. This was the first like crack in Bayleigh being able to wiggle her way to Final 3. This was a very big moment for her game because Matthew going really, really weakened Anthony and Lexus in that side of the house, which strengthens Bayleigh and Todd in her side of the house. At the movie night massacre, we get to her winning that safety competition. She won that first competition of the night, and she got the most important decision, which was to decide. She had all of the options on who she could decide to put their name on the movie night massacre, and she gave Spicy B this HOH, which is another way to lock Spicy B in. Like she really was always helping Spicy B in these moments like this, and it really locked her in. And at the end of the day, she evicted her. So it's like there's a duality to Bayleigh because she was helping her in this moment. I was like, ooh, you kind of prioritizing her too much. But
and I think it's because she was actually loyal to at least Spicy here. I think she actually had a loyalty to Spicy, and over the next few weeks, Spicy's actions caused her to go away. But like I said, the duality of it, I felt that her loyalty was so strong to Spicy that she wouldn't be able to flip, and that would be the detriment to her again because Spicy wins. But no, and that just shows that she has that one up of like she can't be manipulated. Like, and like I say, I do feel like she was slightly missed about Anthony in that Final 4, but it shows that she can't be fully manipulated to the fact of like making a move that could be better for her game. Like a lot of people this season, they made moves that were terrible for their game, and I feel like Bayleigh consistently made moves that were great for her game.
Yeah, I agree. And that leads in, and Bayleigh really has some every week because it leads into.
She really did. Like, no, like, you
girl,
really have to
give her 10s. We lead into the Avery HOH, and Bayleigh was going double time to just make sure Tola was evicted over Todd. And then when she got this small information about Lexus, we already talked about it. Bayleigh runs it to Spicy B to convince Spicy B to target Lexus instead of Todd, and it works. Naturally, the way this week would have went if Anthony wasn't a motherfucking genius, which he is that Bayleigh probably would have successfully gotten Lexus taken out this week, which that alone blew up the main majority alliance of the season. And what Bayleigh caused Kayla to go home by causing Lexus to be the target. And then Anthony was like, I need to switch it to Kayla. And getting Kayla out, or Kayla leaving in this moment, was the best thing for Bayleigh's game
Perfect for
because
her.
it takes the trio away. So now
Mhm.
she can be Spicy V's trio.
Which she
And it
definitely
breaks
was.
up the Hot Chocolates Alliance, which was the main alliance of the season. She didn't even know about it. She destroyed the alliance she didn't even know about. And it's like,
Literally. With that,
ooh,
and the
you
way
fucked that
she
up.
used that information was so pivotal for her game right here. Like that was good.
And she did not have to do that. Being active. That's
Yep.
what Todd and that's what Lexus lacked. It's like there's really a separation between that line, that activeness line really separates the great players from, the good and the mediocre.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like Bayleigh really is above that line with being active. She gonna tell you what to do, bitch. She
Yeah.
gonna be in it. So yeah, that was really
And that's the
good.
thing. It's like at the end of the day, if anyone's telling you what to do, it's because it's better for their game. It may
Yeah.
work for you in the meantime, but it's better for their game. And she's always pushing her own agenda. Sometimes she gets her way, and sometimes she doesn't. But like she can get her
Mhm.
way. So
Yeah.
it's like more people need to start thinking like that. Like at least try, because you never know the people that you're working with. It can work out for you. And I think that was Bayleigh's strong suit. She never played like she was an outlier. Even when
Mhm.
she got blindsided, she didn't play like she just got blindsided. She still played like she was in there with them. You would think she
Yep.
took out Donna with them
Yep.
because she was still in their faces trying to work with them. So that's really impressive on her part for real.
That was a pro of Taylor Hell's game as well.
Yes.
Even though she knew she was an outlier, she pretended. She kind of she continued to play the game as if she wasn't. And I feel like that's a perfect way to keep yourself in the game if you are in a bad position, is to just pretend you're not in a bad position. A lot of people, they get in a bad position, they get nervous, like Vivek. Like
Yeah.
even kind of like Dennis. Like Dennis was kind of
And
just
they started
accepting the
making
fact that he
bad
wasn't in it.
decisions, and that's what I
Mhm.
liked about Bayleigh. Like she never let her position in the game let her make decisions that was not good for her self
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah. People feel like because they're not in the power position, they have to succumb to the power. And Bayleigh never did that. She was in a terrible position and she was still like, y'all not putting up Todd. I don't give a fuck. And they could have got out Bayleigh any one of these weeks.
Yep.
They could have got out Bayleigh anytime they wanted. And she still acted as if they really could. She acted untouchable, so she was.
Period.
It really is about perception. And that's the same thing Taylor did. Taylor acted like an active member of this game, and then eventually she became one. It's really about perception in that house.
Ooh,
I,
Bayleigh a little bit more comparable to Taylor. Now I'm unpacking that.
no, she really is. She really kind of is. She wasn't hated, but she wasn't involved. And I feel like she forced her way to being involved in this game, and she got there. So when Tola wins HOH, he nominates Avery and Bayleigh, and this was the week that Todd won veto, and she had full power over her game. She could have told Todd to use it, and he said in the diary room he would have done whatever she said. If she would have said jump, he would have said how high. So Bayleigh could have been vetoed this week. She could have stayed on the block and she would have stayed. So she was really clearly in one of the best positions in the game after this week, after telling her
She was
ally not
not
to use
going
the
home.
veto and then not going home. It really showed the power she had in this game was crazy because
Mhm.
that's the
And
decision she made. And I think it worked best for her. It really did.
And I was just going to say, around this time is when we also start to see the her and Anthony relationship form to a more in-game route that we're seeing play out now. And it's
Mm-hmm.
such an interesting shift because we saw, like we said, the consistent arguments between them. But I guess that's their love language. I don't get it. I do think they respect each other as people. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, that's still good on Bayleigh because it got to a point in Anthony's game where it became, I have to work with Bayleigh now.
Yeah.
And Bayleigh never shut that door. She never treated him as if he was not an option. She always treated him as someone that she wanted to work with, even though he was not for a while. And because
Mm-hmm.
she kept that door open, he was able to connect with her in his way. And now they're both sitting on the floor. So
Yeah, I agree. And so that was good for her. She decided to tell him not to use it. He didn't use it, and she stayed, and so did Spicy V. And we see Spicy V wins the double eviction HOH. That's kind of blood off of her hands because had she been the one to do it, Anthony probably could have took the shot at her.
yep,
Instead of Spicy, had she been the one who took out Tola and Nom Lexus. It's like, oh, hold on. And it's
yep,
like she was allowed, like, because of that nasty move the previous week, she was able to have Spicy do dirty work for her. It's funny because in the moment, you're thinking, oh, Spicy V's the one who's above Bayleigh. Spicy V is the one who's going to make Bayleigh her bitch. And it's like, no, Bayleigh has Spicy doing her dirty work. Yeah. Because in reality, Spicy takes out Tola, who was targeting Bayleigh, and then Spicy goes home the next week because of Bayleigh. So it's like real nasty, real nasty. The decision to take out Spicy, like we talked about, we saw in her diary room, she kind of says that her real reasoning was like she was feeling like Spicy was not prioritizing her. You voted to evict me over Avery. You've done all these things in the background. I hear you having whispers.
Specifically noted the Kayla week. The Kayla week, when she found out that Kayla was trying to backdoor her, she felt like people were only worried about Kayla exposing the information about Avery. Spicy, which I find very interesting because Kayla still went home that week. She could have interpreted that like, well, Kayla said my name, she's going home. She analyzed that and said, they're only mad that she leaked what Spicy said. They don't care that I was the backdoor target. That's not why she's going home. And so she said she started side-eyeing Spicy there, and then the vote against her was the final nail in her coffin. So when Anthony started coming to her with this information, it really just confirmed things for her, and she made a decision that was best for her game. Yeah, you're in a potential end game with Anthony, but you take out someone that's going to beat all of you, and she beats Anthony. So it doesn't matter that Anthony's there for real.
And Anthony genuinely was second most loyal to her. I feel like he prioritized Lexus.
He said that. He said
he did. He did say that. So it's like she genuinely wasn't making a bad. It's not wrong for her to work with Anthony because Anthony was going to protect her, honestly. And he didn't even nominate her. She didn't even get nommed here.
Nope, so, at all.
A good week, great season, bitch, for Bayleigh because she wins the next HOH. She wins the Final Four HOH, guaranteeing her spot in Final 3. And the only thing that she needed to do was win this veto, or Todd win this veto, and that didn't happen. So now she's technically in the stickiest position in Final 3 because Anthony will probably take Lexus and Lexus will probably take Anthony. But you never really know. Her relationship with Anthony is interesting, and I feel like Bayleigh and Anthony are two of the players who, not having feeds, we get a disservice from because we don't understand their relationship. We really don't. And I feel like it's because we're not able to see them 24/7 because this seems like a relationship that they probably have millions of conversations and we only see the bad ones sometimes. And it's like, we don't really understand it. So Anthony could take Bayleigh. I don't know what his true relationship is.
If I'm being honest, I can definitely see let's say Lexus does cut Todd and Andre and Anthony, Lexus, and Bayleigh. I can see Bayleigh taking Anthony. I'm not even playing.
I can see Bayleigh taking
Anthony. I don't want to see it, but I can see Anthony taking Bayleigh. I hope he's one smart enough to take Lexus because baby, you beat Lexus in the landslide.
Yeah.
But I can see him taking Bayleigh only because he's had these conversations in the Final 2 with her. So I can see him wanting to be loyal to that. But I mean, Lexus did just save his ass this week. So
yeah, I think it really, this is going to come down to more than just who wins. I think it's also going to come down to who's in the final part. Because if Anthony and Bayleigh are in the final part, I think Anthony will try his hardest to win. But if Anthony and Lexus is in the final part, I think Anthony will allow Lexus to just win it and take him. So that way he doesn't have to be
gag him and cut his ass.
Ooh, now that would be a gag. Don't think she'll do it though. But it will be a gag. Beautiful gowns. But yeah, she's guaranteed. Bayleigh's guaranteed in the Final 3. I think overall she had a fucking strong ass game. Very strong performance.
And what I love about it is that a lot of people, they're able to play in this way because they were part of the majority. Like I said, you would think that she would be in the hot chocolates the way her game was so dominant, and she was not. She did it herself, and you have to give tens for it. I think one of the big things, I said this before, but is her adaptability as a player. She's really been able to adapt with every single week, no matter how crazy it got because of Spicy. She was able to adapt, and now she's sitting in she's going to Final 3 with a potential to win the whole thing. So give her motherfucking tip. And I will say, if she doesn't win the whole thing, she should get CFP instead of motherfucking Todd. It's no shade, but hey.
Last but not least,
definitely not least,
we have Anthony
defending me.
Dougalicious. He has won 2 HOHs. We didn't. I don't even know if we read Lexus.
Real quick. Bayleigh had 1 HOH, a veto, and 2 nominations.
And she won that 1 safety competition down. She's good. She's pretty well rounded with she won a HOH and a POV, so that's good. Anthony has won 2 HOHs, no POVs, and he was nominated one time by default, technically.
Only because Lexus won veto. I mean, and that's in 2 seasons, bitch.
And that's ever.
And that's the thing I have to say right
And
here.
that's
Like,
ever.
I get it. I definitely get the Bayleigh says. Honestly, after unpacking the game, I get it even more. That bitch let her win. But I feel like you can't sit up here
but not over Anthony
in Bayleigh's game and then act like Anthony's game isn't also very impressive. I think he has a strong suit in being adaptable as well. I mean, that's Anthony's strong suit. The man can make anything happen. He can turn water into wine. He can walk on water. He can bust my walls. I mean, he can do a lot. So,
can you please move away from my man, please? Thank you.
Oh, let me stop. When they say, "Oh, you only think that because you're attracted to him," let me.
Oh, please. Anyways, Anthony started off this game. One of 2 vets in this house already had, a target in a way on his back, and he very quickly diminished that week 1. Prior to him winning the HOH, he had a lot of like social prior to his HOH decision, he had a lot of like social bonds, social connections very early on, and a lot of people were already feeling more comfortable with him. And then when he started his reign and he nominated Janine and he pawned Avery and he started speaking to people one-on-one as the HOH, he was very clearly seen as someone who is a threat. He seemed abrasive. People weren't feeling him here and there. He still had a lot of good things going on, but there were already people looking at him like,
One of the main things he had very early on, of course, was the Big Bucks Alliance, named after his late friend with Spicy V. And we see early on that this alliance is definitely beneficial for him. Like, I feel like we have to talk about Spicy a lot here because his game is a connection. It's a time with her so much, but I think they definitely helped each other a lot throughout this game and kept each other safe. And we see that week 1 immediately where she is snitching out the All Girls Alliance and pinning it all on Janine to Anthony, basically setting up this target for Janine to be the one to go home this week.
And that leads to kind of the way the season ends up turning out, because it started off with this boys versus girls type of situation. And we see very early on that Spicy V kind of bonds with most of the girls, and then like people like Todd, and then Anthony bonds with most of the boys and like Lexus. So that's kind of how the season ends up kind of falling in a way, is that Spicy has all those people plus Todd and Dennis really, and then Anthony in a way kind of has his people over here. But going into week 2, we see that people like Vivek, people like Bayleigh, people like Donna, all want, and Dennis, all actually want to target Anthony. So week 2, he was already in like, a sticky position because all these people were targeting him. Luckily, Spicy V wins the HOH and she takes out Donna herself. She hears about Donna wanting to target Anthony, and she decides that she needs to be backdoored. She tells her girls that, and she backdoors Donna. A lot of people give Anthony this Donna thing, but from what we have from the episodes and the digital dailies, there was never scene where Anthony is the one who's making Donna be the one to go home.
He wanted it to be Vivek this week.
He wanted it to be
open about that. She it was like a light switch went off in Spicy. I remember watching digital dailies and seeing her trash Donna, and then the trio all started doing it too. And then it was like this big target of like, Donna and Bayleigh aren't really with us. Donna and Bayleigh are actually working with Vivek and Todd. Why did I go in the room? And they stopped talking. So, and I thought we didn't get to see this a lot because we didn't have feeds, but apparently, we know Donna, Todd were very close. Bayleigh was close with them, and then Vivek had a thing with them, this fake East Coast thing or whatever. So they were very concerned about the East Coast Alliance, even though it wasn't real. So Spicy, remember that big fight in the HOH room? Which is crazy. We didn't even talk about that with Bayleigh when she went off over Vivek. But Spicy kind of caused all of that, which led to the Donna backdoor. Anthony was not really a part of any of that. That was definitely all Spicy. So when people try to use that against Anthony, saying, well, he was always trying to go after her allies, that's not the case. She helped her get out Janine, and she wanted Donna out. It just worked for Anthony because she was doing it because they were targeting Anthony.
Yeah. So that's what happens. He's being helped a lot by Spicy V and her taking out her own allies for him. And that was his relationship with her. He really maintained a good relationship with her, to where even if she ended up taking out other people. She never really wanted to target Anthony. And then very early on, she was targeting all the people who did want to target Anthony, like Donna. So that's why Donna went this week. And that was really good for him. We also saw him want to form some type of alliance. He was the main one who wanted to form an alliance at the beginning. He was trying to figure out who he wanted to be in it, and he definitely wanted Matthew to be in it. So when he formed the Hot Chocolates, he even pitched the Hot Chocolates plus Matthew as an idea because he really wanted Matthew to be included in it. He felt like it would have worked well. So he actually wanted Matthew very close. And that's why it's like, y'all know how close of an ally Matthew is to Anthony, and we'll get to that point. But it was very clear week 1 that he was that close because he pitched Matthew to be in the Hot Chocolates all the way. Then we had the director's forum, of course, and so there was the alliance created with Matthew and Elijah in it, and that was his way of like evening out his odds by having Matthew and Elijah and Lexus be in the alliance with the other girls. And then we saw him like tell Matthew, like, he started telling people to do stuff very early on because he's like, Matthew, you need to get close to one of them girls so we can lock in one of them girls. And I do think that helped Lexus be more on his side than anything, because if her and Matthew didn't have a showmance, Lexus would probably be more inclined to talk to the girls. Lexus talked to the girls a lot that first week, especially. It wasn't until the showmance that she really kind of leaned more towards that side of the game. So I think that was a key moment for him, is pulling in Lexus, because Lexus is now potentially saving him in Final Four. And it's like he really clocked that T very on that he needed to get one of those girls on his side, and he did.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are like hinting at that as something the way of like he was always prioritizing his game, like he was always going to cut Spicy. But I do think that that's not the case, only because, like we mentioned before, like even though Matt was his like guy and he was telling Matt to bring in Lexus to kind of have some numbers on his side, Spicy was included in that. You know, Tola, who was not in the directors or the Hot Chocolates, was an outlier that Anthony had. And he also had a Final Four situation with Spicy included with Tola as well. So, like, he was always making sure that these people were also good with Spicy. Despite her walking around, going against Lexus, going against Matt, he knew that information and he continued to protect her with them. So they felt like that they always had Spicy and Anthony. So he was definitely doing work in that way to make sure that she was good with them.
Yeah. So leaving into week 3, it was actually looking really bad for Anthony because Vivek and Dennis were becoming this duo who were pretty powerful because Dennis had won both the first vetoes. And then we see Vivek win this HOH. And going into this week, they were anti-Anthony. They were literally whispering the night before HOH, the night of HOH, about how he needs to go. He needs to be the next target. He needs to be someone who goes home. And funnily enough, by the end of this week, Anthony has Vivek taking out Dennis, the person who he was speaking to about it.
This is such masterful gameplay. I mean, they helped form this fake alliance with Vivek. It was him, Spicy, Kayla, and Vivek, and they all just, you know, they got him to profess his loyalty to them. And it was so interesting. I remember watching on the Digital Daily, like, he was at the beginning of the day, like, I'm not doing Dennis. So I can't. That's definitely not going to happen. And by the end, he's like, I have to do Dennis to prove myself to this alliance that I'm loyal to you guys. And it was because Anthony, he said Spicy in there with something to say. He said Kayla in there with something to say. He went in there and said something. And all just culminated into him making this decision. And like I said, like, that is definitely Anthony's strong suit. Because I watched BB Can 7 while this season was airing. I binged that. And that is truly his game. Getting his allies to all be on one page to form a narrative that gets someone to believe it. And he eats that up so flawlessly. Like, he did it with Dennis here. He does it with Kayla. And he does it with Spicy at Pharaoh 5. It's like, this man, he really eats that strategy up. Like, and that's why me personally, I'm like, I just think he deserves it because that type of gameplay I live for. Like, I get it. I understand, like, Bayleigh, her story and everything about it, and I do have to give her 10s, but this is a master manipulator, and I do love that type of gameplay. I really do, because it was so seamless. Like, literally, I watched as Kayla and Spicy went in the room and say, well, he said this, so what should I say? And he would tell them exactly what to say. They would go and say it.
And it seems these are every instance, which is so crazy because it's like you could take out Dennis on anyone's HOH. he took him out on Vivek's HOH. You can take out Kayla on anyone. You took him out on Avery's HOH. It's
You
like
can take out Spicy with anybody. You took out Spicy
just,
using her pawns.
It's like almost the opposite of what you think should be the case. He makes happen. He kind of does it when it's damn near impossible to do it. He waits until it's the hardest time for me to make this happen, and I'm gonna make it happen. And it's like, what in the fuck? Who are you? And it started with this one. This was resume move number one, winning move number one, bitch. Then the week after that, he gets to successfully Dennis to go home. Elijah wins HOH, and it was looking bad for him again. And it's like, I don't know if people forgot, but a lot of people do talk about Anthony having so much control. He was really at the beck and call of Spicy at the beginning of this game. He was able to do this masterful move while the people were targeting him. Like we said, Vivek and Dennis wanted him gone, and he was still able to convince Vivek to take out Dennis. And then the next week, when Elijah's HOH, there was a lot of pushback between Todd and Tola. It was to the point where if the girls would have put their foot down, they had the numbers to take out Todd. It just seemed like he was putting his foot down more. He was standing more on business to where he was potentially finna have them vote out Todd instead of Tola just because of how assertive he was with his position of it. And then we get the executive veto. And Spicy takes this as a moment.
And I truly feel like this week alone is where they got the idea that Anthony is just convincing us to do whatever he wants because he wanted Todd out, but he wanted Todd out because Todd was targeting the alliance. Like, and I would see these conversations with Spicy. He will always talk about like, well, what is best for our game? Who is someone that we can control? Who is someone that we can use? And when you break down the people in the game, the only person who was not under their influence was Todd, which is what we've said several times. He's had several conversations up until this point that showed that he was not on the Anthony or Spicy train like that. So it was very smart for the hot chocolate group to go after Todd, but they saw that as he's only doing it for his best because it's best for his game, which I really don't think that was the case.
It wasn't, and I feel like proof of that is the fact that Anthony wanted Vivek out previously when Vivek was someone who was telling Anthony a lot of information previously, and it's like he was okay with him going home because he felt like he was a threat. And even the week after this, he talks about how he was okay with Elijah going home. The issue was, why does it have to be Matt? And the issue here is like Tola over Todd doesn't make sense. I feel like he definitely is a player who's going to prioritize himself in the sense that he needs to be in the best position. But also, when it came to all of these moves, it genuinely did just make more sense for the entire hot chocolates for these people to play. He operates, from what we've seen from Anthony in his first season, he operates alliance first and then myself near the end game. And every week at the beginning of the game of his BB Can 7 game, he was prioritizing what was best for the alliance. It was not really just what was best for him, whether it was his ally or not. If it was best for the alliance, it was best for the alliance. And I feel like nothing about his game has indicated differently in this season. So I don't know why people.
But you know why? It's because the alliance was best for the final two with Spicy. It was way better for Spicy. That's why I don't know why she was so down for it to break up. But that was better for their final two, which I think if they got to the end with Hot Chocolates plus Matt, they would have been in final two for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's what people are leaning on. Like, they don't know if Anthony was actually loyal to Spicy in that way, but I truly believe he was, because he was saying it even into the DR. He was saying it on TV up until the Matt week.
Yeah, and that's when this next week when Avery wins HOH and they backdoor Matt, which we talked about. This was the shift in Anthony's game. We've talked about it multiple times, but that was his closest ally. Like I said, week one, he wanted Matt in the hot chocolates. So they knew how close Matthew was to him. That was his number one. That was his person. And it's similar to if Lexus would have won HOH and he would have told her to take out Spicy B's number one, Kayla, or something. It's like you can't have your closest ally gone, getting him backdoored and expect him to react naturally. So he didn't. They took out Matthew. Everyone knew how close he was to Anthony. They backdoored Matthew, took him out, and then Anthony shifted his game into a point of he was like, look, I don't want Spicy V out right now, but I definitely now understand the way she's operating, and she's not operating for the both of us. She's operating for her. And it's period. And up until this point, because people we got to go through it, because people try to act like he started it or he did it too. But up until this point, him and Spicy V suggested Janine to go.
Yep.
Spicy V suggested Donna to go. Him and Spicy collaborated on Dennis going, and Spicy V literally took out Vivek with her executive veto.
But before that, she was also fine with Todd going.
Agreed with Todd going before that. So every single week up until the Matthew week, she agreed or caused the evictions that he was doing. So in Anthony's mind, there was not one eviction this entire time that Spicy V disagreed with, or Spicy V didn't want, or wasn't best for him and Spicy. So this was the very first eviction that they both, as a final two, did not agree on, and she did it in a way that was right up in his face, and she kind of spat in his face with it.
She completely strong-armed him, and I remember that conversation when he was trying to talk about, okay, well, let's think this out, because the Spicy trio at this time were in the mindset of like, Anthony's playing us, Anthony is trying to go against us, he's trying to make up a group against us. So in that conversation, they gave very much, I don't want to hear anything you're saying. He's going up because this and this. She seemed angry. He was like, what's your problem? What's wrong? She's like, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. You need to just win. Your side needs to win. Da, 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 da. How do you expect someone to want to work with someone after this? It was like, it was a complete shift in her gameplay. And also, I have to argue as well, people are saying, well, Anthony was doing it first. Anthony was doing it first. Okay, well, let's unpack that. If Anthony was trying to make sure that his allies stayed in the game, because his allies would have targeted Spicy over him, and he could have got to the end of the game and won. If that was Anthony's true plan, which I don't think it was, but if that is his true plan, then when Spicy strong arms him, takes out his allies to make sure her stay in the game, allies that he knows is targeting him, what is he supposed to think? That she wants to go to the end game with her people so I can go home and get out, which is smart. You know, I have no issues against that, but if you're an actual final two, that's not how you get to the end of this game. And that's why I think the difference is when Anthony had his people, like I have to say again, Tola loved Spicy. Even to the point in the end game where he won his HOH, he didn't put up Spicy. Even though Anthony told him to do it, he was like, I will not put up Spicy. Matt wanted Spicy in his final four. Even if Matt was targeting Kayla, he wanted Spicy in his final four. Every single ally that Anthony had on the side, or including the Hot Chocolates, they trusted Spicy because of Anthony. Even though Spicy was running around doing all the other things, they trusted Spicy. So I don't think that Spicy was protecting Anthony in that way.
Well, she wasn't, because before Avery won HOH, Spicy and Avery had a conversation in the car, and Spicy told Avery to backdoor Anthony. Like she was encouraging Avery to backdoor Anthony.
She was initiating a lot of these conversations. The reason
she was encouraging Kayla and Bayleigh. Yeah,
like, a lot of them was because of Spicy. Because a lot of that thing, going back to this side thing, it became, well, the side feels this, and it's like, what sides? Bayleigh and Todd? Because Kayla and Spicy shouldn't be thinking these things. I mean, Kayla and Avery shouldn't be thinking these things, but they did because Spicy would initiate it, and Spicy would get in their heads about, we can't trust Anthony. The person who takes like Anthony can win this game. Like, things like that. Like, Anthony never did that with his allies. He never did the Tola or Matt until Matt went home.
Yeah. When you really break it down ally by ally, it's like none of Anthony's allies wanted to target Spicy, but all of Spicy's allies wanted to target Anthony. Todd, Bayleigh, Kayla, and Avery all wanted to target Anthony. And it's like, if you just are like listening or thinking, I don't know how you can watch the show and not understand that Spicy was doing it, and he was not.
Tola and Matthew refused Spicy for that,
and she ate that up.
Do that, but here's a problem: you can't do that and still want to final two with the nigga. She should have did that and got his ass out. You can't undermine someone and expect them to still just stay loyal to you, especially in that way. I don't think Anthony. I think Anthony would have been fine if they were able to talk it out and come to that conclusion, but she wasn't trying to talk it out. She would make the decision and be like, you have to be okay with it, and then she would go do here. And then she would go in the dining room and say, me and Anthony are still final two, but you're not doing that work with Anthony in the game.
And I think the disconnect between what the disconnect Spicy is having currently, why she's angry, I think is the same disconnect that some of the fans are having, is because everyone knows that she genuinely did want to go to final two with Anthony. And I think that confuses everything in everyone's mind. But in reality, the way she was operating, like we said, all of her allies wanted to target him because of her.
And she
So
continued to protect
and she encouraged that over and over again. And Anthony was not doing the same thing. So in reality, she genuinely was operating way more negatively about him than he was about her. And that was just the way it was. And I think another issue that's happening is that because these first couple of weeks, Spicy was genuinely operating, I feel, for the both of them. I think week 1, 2, and 3, she was genuinely helping Anthony. She got wrapped up in the concept of the game, of this side thing, and I think she genuinely started spiraling. She genuinely started to have to try to talk her down from distrusting and talk herself down from distrusting Anthony, and then she spiraled and spiraled and spiraled, and then she genuinely started to distrust him, which is why she got afraid of Matthew being here. And we've seen Spicy. What's crazy to me is we've seen Spicy do this before with her closest allies. With Tashawn and Jed, she spiraled and took out Latoya, or it could have been Beth, because she was getting in her head about how much they trusted her over the other allies. Spicy V is known for making her allies lose all of their other allies. That's what she did in her original season. So I don't understand why we're like kind of confused or forgetting that that's how she operates. She does not like for her allies to have closer allies than her, which is why she wanted Matthew and Lexus out, because he was the closest to them. And it was very clear. And so that's what happened. She took out Matthew here, and Anthony shifted his game to kind of not prioritize her as much. And so he stopped. He stopped letting everybody know to protect her. He stopped telling everybody to. And that's another thing. I feel like it was very, very obvious that Anthony shifted here in the way that he was protecting her. So I don't know why people like try to say that he was never protecting her when there was a shift.
Because as soon as that happened, he had a conversation with Matt, a separate conversation with Tola, a separate conversation with Lexus specifically. It exposed everything that she had did. If he had been actually not wanting to go to Final 2 with her, he would have never done that.
Yeah,
he wanted Final 2 with her. He was protecting her with them. And Lexus and them would have still protected Spicy if he didn't expose her after this shift. So this was the moment that he decided that he didn't want to go to Final 2 with her anymore. And people are acting like that like came out of nowhere. It's like, I don't think it had anything to do with her being able to win, because we were saying all the way up until the Matt week, how is Anthony going to win this game?
Because he genuinely wanted to go to the end with Spicy V. And then he exposed a lot of information this week about her. And like you said, it shifted the way that Spicy V's game was going and the way that he was playing. He no longer wanted to go to the end with her because it was clear that she was going to strong arm him when she's supposed to be his final 2. Why would my final 2 force me to have to vote out my closest ally?
He never did that to her. And it's like, and that's like people are counting like, those first few weeks. Like I said, I will repeat it until my face is blue. She wanted Janine out. She wanted Donna out. She wanted Vivek out. She was okay with Todd leaving, and then she wanted Vivek. It's like, but the issue is, she was telling Anthony that she didn't, and then she would go back and say, "Well, Anthony's saying this, and he's convincing me, and he's manipulating me, and da 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 da." But then she would go straight to her Anthony and be like, "Those girls want that, but I don't care. Yeah, Tom can go. I mean, I really don't care. It's just me and you. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care." And then she go back to them. Anthony's doing this, this, and this. It's like,
I think she got caught up in that. It's like she forgot which side she was supposed to be on. Or which
and she tried to use the excuse like I was doing that because I was hiding our alliance. There's a difference between hiding the alliance and full on bashing him. And it's like, girl, you wasn't hiding the alliance, because at the end of the day, they knew you was protecting Anthony. The way she would be like, oh, I mean, we don't have to touch Anthony now. Like, they all knew Anthony was an affiliate to this group, and it was because of Spicy. So it's like, you can't say both things and they both be true. Like,
yeah, and like we said already, I'm not saying she shouldn't have took out any of his people here, but it didn't have to be Matthew, and it didn't have to be in the way it was, and we moved on. So this is what led into the movie night massacre, which Anthony was having a ball. This was when he was giddy and laughing at the board, because that's when Avery and Kayla were nominated, but Elijah ended up going home that week, and I mean, that was fine with Anthony. It was fine with Anthony the week before. It's just, I don't know why you're taking out Matthew. Take out these other scrubs. The fuck? So anyways, that leads into Avery's HOH. And this was checkpoint number 2 of why he should win the game.
Yeah.
Avery wins her second HOH. She took out Matthew the first time she was HOH. And Anthony said, I ain't letting shit like that happen again.
At all.
So she nominated Todd and Tola because they nominated her. You would think she would just want them to go. But like we said with Bayleigh had this plan to get Lexus as a target. Spicy V jumped on it, and Spicy V wanted to target Lexus, and that's what she told Avery to do. Then she had a conversation, and this is when Spicy also had the conversation about how Kayla, Lexus, and Avery don't need to be in the end game with us for us to succeed, aka fuck the hot chocolates,
basically.
And
the alliance that she was loyal to the end, by the way.
So she tells Anthony that first, and then she says, "Yeah, like Lexus, I don't know. I think she might have to go." And Anthony was like, "Oh, this is what you're doing.
Yeah,
I got something for you."
That's another example of let's view Anthony's POV. You just took out Matt, and now you want to take out Lexus. Meanwhile, Bayleigh and Todd are still here.
And Kayla and Avery.
People that he know are not fond of him in this game. So it's like, if we're final twos, why are you protecting people that want to target me? It's like,
and also are targeting Avery. Like they're also targeting Avery and Kayla. So it's like, how is Spicy's priority hot chocolates if she didn't want to take out Todd, who nommed Avery, Tola, who nommed Kayla, and she wanted to take out Lexus, who didn't nom none of them and was in the
hot chocolates.
And then after Lexus, Kayla, who didn't nom none of them and who was in the hot chocolates as well. So anyways, so Anthony finds out she wants to target Lexus, so he creates a plan that and that's another thing. People keep using him targeting Kayla as a reason. That's not real. He literally in the diary room said, because she's targeting Lexus, I have no choice but to take this bitch out. And that's what he did. And he got her to instead be mad about Kayla. And because she has no loyalty to the hot chocolates, she happily told Avery to target Kayla instead. So that's what happened. Kayla went home, and that was checkpoint number 2 of why Anthony
crazy
could win this motherfucking game.
It kept Lexus in, which is another for him. It kept Tola in, who eventually won a competition that he was able to.
The next week won a competition, mind you.
That he was able to use to stay safe. So
to take out Avery. Ooh, he ate.
Literally.
He ate. And on top of all of that, it takes out Kayla, who not only was a part of the Spicy trio, well, she was gonna flip, but also one of the biggest competitions to win this game. Like Kayla was someone who I'm like, ooh, they're gonna take her out somehow, some way.
And she was in a competition. She had a good social game, and she was starting to maneuver in a way that she was set up well within the hot chocolate end game. And taking her out was really good for him because it also broke that trio of Spicy, which I think led to the distrust of Bayleigh because you were exposing her game.
Yep. So the next week, Tola, of course, because he was able to stay, he wins the HOH and he takes out Avery right here, which is great for Anthony again. And then the nail in Spicy V's coffin that was already headed down into the ground. Spicy V wins the double eviction HOH. And instead of putting up Todd, she puts up Lexus and Tola. Now, in hindsight, Todd wins veto, so it was not going to do anything. But at the moment, when Anthony and Bayleigh are in the room with Spicy V, and she has to decide between prioritizing Bayleigh and prioritizing Anthony, she once again doesn't prioritize her final two. And like you said, Lee, in Anthony's POV, this is my final two. We agreed that we both want Todd out. That's what Spicy V has been saying, that she wants Todd out. If you're my final two, and if me and Lee are final two, and Lee said, we want Todd out, and then Lee wins the double eviction HOH and doesn't nominate Todd, I'm going to be like, this nigga just lied to me. My final two should never be lying to my face. And that's to the point where they didn't even nominate the person. What the fuck?
If her final two was Anthony, then she should have had true loyalty with Anthony. She was playing both sides, even with Anthony. Because in this way of not putting up Todd, you were maintaining that relationship with Bayleigh and Todd in case they won a competition. They would keep you safe, which is smart, which is great. But how does Anthony supposed to feel about that? He's already feeling slighted, and you're just doing action after action that makes him solidify in the idea that this girl does not trust me and she needs to go home.
Mm-hmm. So this leads to Tola going home and Anthony winning his second competition this season and using the fuck out of it. And this is checkpoint 3 as to why Anthony should win the game, because he concocts this plan to convince everyone to agree to take out Spicy. Not to just take out Spicy, to convince everyone to agree to it. So he talks to Bayleigh first, She tries to strong arm him, and he has a discussion with her, and he notices that if he puts her on the block, she's probably not going to be happy, and so it adds a layer to his plan. So not only is he going to make sure that Spicy is nominated, now he needs to make sure that Bayleigh isn't nominated. So he has to convince Todd and Lexus to basically be pawns on the block. He talks to Todd. Todd's okay with being a pawn, and now Todd is against Spicy V. Bayleigh's now against Spicy V. And then he talks to Lexus, and he convinces Lexus to offer herself up as a pawn. She does, and now he doesn't have to nom Bayleigh. Yeah. So he goes back to Bayleigh. He lets her know, I was never going to nominate you. You're my girl. And it solidifies Bayleigh to be locked in with him to the point where she doesn't even nominate him in Final Four. And it's like, not that it matters, but she clearly wanted to repay the debt. And it's like, he check after check after check. And it was a risk for him to nominate Lexus and have Lexus on the block with Spicy, but it was a risk that worked because not only did she say, but Lexus also won the veto, which will likely get him to the final 3 of this game. Yeah. So this man made a monster move, and I gave him a 10 on that round, and I was like, I gotta give him that 10 if it works, and it worked real nasty.
And the Lexus nomination is definitely just an example of the type of player he is. Like, he's a legendary player in this game. And those type of players, they take risks. They make these huge moves that you feel like is not going to work or that not anyone could do. And they make it work. And I think that's why I feel like he deserves it. Because like I said, he's a master manipulator. He makes things true that are not true. He makes the impossible happen. We saw it like 3 to 4 times this season. In every situation, Dennis should not have gone home because of Vivek. Avery should not have gone home because of Kayla. Spicy should not have been voted out by Todd and Bayleigh. And he made it happen. He's now sitting in Final 3. He shouldn't be in Final 3. This is the man that made it all the way to the Final 2 unnominated in his season. Since day one of this competition, they knew who he was as a player and has been saying his name as a target this entire time. And he's now sitting in Final 3 with only 1 default nom.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. It's very impressive considering the type of game, the reputation that he already has. He has the reputation of being in one of the best alliances in Big Brother Canada history. We see them talk about his legacy throughout this entire season, and he still remained safe. And I like I said, I definitely can see why the Bayleigh stands. Feel like she would deserve it. I think that she has a lot of good qualities to her game. But I still stand by Anthony. I do want him to win this season. I feel like he's played a masterful game, and he really just shows that the fact that he has only touched the block once by default shows that he is one of the best players who've ever touched this game. Like, he's sitting in Final 3 again. Not many people have played twice and made to the finals like this. And I would argue that every person who has is a top tier Big Brother player. And Anthony is one of those. Yes. Like, Anthony, you have to give him a 10. You cannot sit up here and say, as you see that Bayleigh did good, you see that Todd did good, and you don't see that what Anthony has done this entire time.
Yeah, Anthony is probably could arguably be the best Big Brother player ever if he wins this season. The way he's played both of these games is not to the caliber that any other player has ever played 2 seasons, in my opinion. I've never seen any other player play 2 seasons to this type of caliber, controlling HOHs, getting allies to target allies, multiple seasons, never getting nominated while doing it.
Mind you, only 2 HOHs, no vetoes.
Even Dan Giesling himself ain't did shit like what Anthony has done. Dan ain't get no Brittany to take out her closest ally. He ain't never done shit like that. And it's no shade. I know y'all love Dan, but at the end of the day, Dan, name something that Dan did other than saving himself from being a target.
And that's the thing. Because one thing he did do is win. And that's why Anthony needs to get his
clock that T. Clock that T. Bitch that T. Clock that T.
And I would be so, and that's why I'm saying, like, that's what sucks is that, like, I will, if he loses, especially if he makes Final 2 and loses, I'm not going to sit up here and say it was jury management. I feel like I can't fully say it, only because the things that the jury is pissed off about is
they're lying to themselves. And that's the issue. Like I said, I have never been anti-bitter jury. I believe Dan created a bitter jury. He didn't deserve to win. I believe Paul created a bitter jury. He didn't deserve to win. Tyler, etc., etc., etc. This is a very different situation because of the things I'm hearing them say are very, very hypocritical. Honestly, in Paul's season, they were not hypocritical. They said, you were a bitch. We don't want to vote you. That's period. If they were just saying Anthony was a bitch, they didn't want to vote him, I wouldn't have a problem with it. He is an asshole. If that was their reason, I would support. And when Tyler's season, they were like, he was an asshole. Don't want to vote him. I get it. They're saying Anthony never prioritized the hot chocolates, and we did. They're saying Anthony didn't even play as good as so and so and so. And you know he, after saying yes he
while
did,
also
while also
admitting that
saying he did. So it's like y'all are lying. And
to be able to go into an
respect it.
exit interview and say Anthony's playing the best game and still rate him as third or fourth on your list is fucking crazy.
And then say you're not bitter. And then say you're not bitter. You can't really do. I also don't like when you don't admit you're bitter. Bayleigh sat on that all-star screen and said, "I did cost him $100 million," and Angela had to sell her little truck.
Yeah. Same with Elena.
Same with Elena.
I think Paul's playing great. I'm bitter. I'm not voting him. Don't care.
Boom.
They're not saying that though. They're saying he's playing great, and well, Bayleigh's playing better. Bayleigh get this better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, if you want to win this game, you got to take out Anthony, and then still say, well, I would vote Bayleigh over Anthony in the final too.
Because it doesn't make sense. I just feel like it would be very much so a shame if he specifically makes final two and loses because of the way they're presenting his game as this kind of. It's just they're lying to themselves to give themselves a reason to not vote them. They kind of just don't want to vote him. And honestly, I would rather them just say, honestly, I don't want to vote Anthony. Just say that.
Be real about it. I'd be more
just say that. I would respect that. I would respect that. But I would respect that. I don't respect them lying, claiming he wasn't loyal to an alliance that he was loyal to that y'all weren't, claiming that he played the best game but also doesn't deserve it because he didn't own up to it. He did own up to what he did. He owned up to exactly why he took your ass out. You was playing in his face, and you know he was playing in his face. So all of that is ridiculous. But real quick, I do want to talk about the jury because we do kind of know what they're thinking. Starting with Elijah. Elijah let me know that Spicy V was that girl, and she's gonna win this game. And he kind of indicated if someone takes her out or if someone ends up making it to the end over her, that he would probably prefer to vote for them. So I do think Elijah, as a separate jury, is probably preferring to vote Anthony. He definitely mentioned Anthony as someone who's playing a good game. So I think Elijah could be a vote for Anthony, which I feel like is good. Kayla then went to the jury. Kayla said she would vote all the girls because she loves girls except for Lexus. She would not vote Lexus. And she said after the girls, she would vote Anthony. So it seems like Bayleigh would get her vote over Anthony. And Anthony would get her vote over Lexus. Mm-hmm. So I think Elijah would vote Anthony over everyone. I think Kayla would vote Bayleigh over everyone. But she also said Anthony was playing the best game. So she's not voting. Kayla claims she's voting based on womanhood, but also she's not voting Lexus. So I don't know what Kayla's voting based on, honestly. So after Kayla, Avery went into the jury house. She said a bunch of shit. She said she wanted to vote Tola to win. So she don't know what's going on. I expect Avery to do whatever Spicy V does. So let's skip her. Who else went to jury after? Who went to jury after Avery? Tola. Tola's voting Anthony.
Definitely voting Anthony.
Tola's voting Anthony. Elijah's probably voting Anthony. And then Spicy V. Spicy V says she feels like she'd vote Bayleigh, and then Todd, and then Anthony. Mm-hmm. So
she'd be willing to vote Anthony if he owned up to what the reason why she went home. And I don't think Anthony's gonna say. I think he may mention it, but like that's not gonna be the main part of why she went home. And that's why I think it's so annoying about it is that you're trying to invalidate his reasons. Everyone is doing that. As if she wasn't actually doing those things. Like you're telling him to tell the truth. He's telling you the truth. That is what. Why do we have to invalidate this man's feelings? Like from his POV, you have not been loyal to him. So that is a very valid reason as to why she should go home. But I don't think she'll accept that.
Yeah. I think Todd will probably definitely vote Bayleigh over everyone, and then probably Anthony, then Lexus. So for majority of the jury, is probably Bayleigh, Anthony, and then Lexus.
If Anthony went home, he would vote. Who would he vote?
I don't know who Anthony. I think Anthony would vote Bayleigh. I think Anthony would vote Bayleigh, but I don't know. Lexus would probably vote Anthony, and then Bayleigh would probably vote Anthony as well. So for majority of the jury, everyone except Elijah and Tola would just vote Bayleigh, no matter what the outcome is. What it's seeming like in this moment. And then if it's Anthony and Lexus, everyone would just vote Anthony over Lexus. So for Anthony to win this game, he needs to sit next to Lexus. Bayleigh could win next to anybody, and Lexus probably can't win the game.
This is
assuming Todd's getting fourth. But
that's what I'm saying. I wonder how much that changes. Like if Todd does go home and we're in final three, if Anthony wins the final HOH, or if Bayleigh somehow takes
Anthony.
would they change their opinion? Or basically, no matter who he's next to, would the fact that he's in final two, despite everything that's happened since the start of the season, change their mind, especially his legacy behind it? You know, we've seen them not care with Dan and Paul, so maybe not.
Maybe.
But I just feel like it would definitely be unfortunate based off the things that they're saying of why they wouldn't do it. Because like you said, it's hypocritical and it's BS. It's not true.
None of it's true.
None of it's true.
None of it's true. They don't want to give him no credit.
No
Lord. Credit. But anyways, so it's looking to be an interesting end game. It's really interesting because you really don't know who's going to win. I feel like I was even a little bit more confident that Ty would win last season, even though it wasn't set in stone. Like this one, I don't know.
Girl, Lexus may win.
Lexus might win, girl. I really, I really don't know. And Lee, we can talk about the draft a little bit too to end it off. Because in this final four, Lee has the girls and I have the boys. So knowing that Lexus won this veto, we can assume that it is likely that Todd will probably go home. And if that's the case, Victoria's out. Damn, mind you, Todd was my last person, and he is probably going home. And that will leave me with Anthony, and that will leave you with Bayleigh and Lexus going into this final three.
It's so funny because usually I'm pretty male heavy with my team, and the one time I have more girls than anything, the girls is beasted it.
It's crazy. And then I thought I really picked like two of the strongest girls. Well, I still do think like I ain't gonna say Kayla specifically. Like Kayla still is a very strong player, but
I want to see both those, and then we'll see.
Ooh, period. So it is looking like Todd's gonna go. It is looking like my shot is with Anthony, which is a very good shot. I feel that's a good last person to have. If I was gonna have one person be the last person, I'm glad it's Anthony.
Ooh, and I had picked Bayleigh third. I saw it.
You did. No, you clocked it for Bayleigh. You got it for Bayleigh. So it's interesting. I should have picked Bayleigh. I should have picked Bayleigh. I was playing games. But anyways, so it is very up in the air, just like the vote of which one of us is going to win, because it's probably either Bayleigh or Anthony. My fingers are crossed for Lexus to win the final HOH, to take Anthony, and to lose the game to Anthony.
That's what we need.
That's what we need.
Or win, hell.
I want or win. Honestly, I just want her to get her little check. She deserves her second place.
I want my sister in that final too bad.
She deserves her second place check for sure. But yes, this is gonna be very interesting. We will be here on the finale to talk whatever happens, whoever wins, whoever loses. We're gonna definitely be talking about it all. I hope we come on there cheering like we were with Taylor Hale.
Well, if Todd leaves, I truly don't mind who wins. I think it's gonna be a good night regardless.
And you know what?
Like I said, I will be slightly disappointed if Anthony then in final two and loses. But I think any winner I would be happy with.
Yeah, I actually do agree with that.
I remember BB25 did not want Matt to win. BB11 did not want Claudia to win. Oh God, didn't want Claudia to win. So yeah.
So I'll be happy. I agree. I'll be happy with any outcome. Honestly, Bayleigh, if Bayleigh does cut Anthony and wins, she ate this fucking season up. When Anthony wins, he ate this season up. And if Lexus cuts Anthony and wins, she eats it up. And if Lexus doesn't cut Anthony and wins, she still eats it up.
She should eat it up. Period. Come on.
Thank you. So yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back for the finale, and then we're also we do a final player rating after the season, the week after. So the Tuesday after the season ends, we will be coming back and we'll be posting our final player rating for everyone in the season. And then keep a lookout for anything else we might be doing after the season with the coverages. I'm still doing my exit interviews, so check those out as well. For whoever gets fourth place, I will be interviewing them, and then I'll have interviews with the final three as well. So check all of that out. We're still doing Survivor. We're still doing the challenge. We're still doing Amazing Race. Check all of that out. And we got a lot of shit coming for the summer. So keep your eyes peeled, bitch. And thank you for keeping it real with the kingdom. We're out.